Hello, YouTube.
Hi, YouTube.
We're back.
Hi, YouTube.
Again.
Hi, YouTube.
Against your wishes.
Actually, I mean, if you're watching, it's not really against their wishes.
Unless it was some bizarre accident.
Yeah, but some bizarre accident or some kind of masochist is on here.
Yeah.
So like, what is this about?
It's like a
Liz
Clockwork
sucking?
Orange. They're like making somebody watch it.
Yeah. Force fed them 30 hours of This List Sucks. All right, here we go.
All right.
This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. It sucks.
Happy Friday.
Welcome back to This List Sucks. I'm JB.
I'm Mike.
And we have another special guest today. It felt a little weird last week without a special guest, didn't it?
I mean,
It felt good. I don't mean it felt bad. It felt good, but it had just been so long. It had been a solid 5-6 weeks, right?
we had gone a long time with having guests. So maybe the best analogy is that it felt like we were jerking off with our left hand because guests had become our right hand.
I think that's the best analogy. Yeah. There's nothing that could better sum up the situation.
Because
And the
it's
feeling
still,
that I had.
I mean,
Yeah.
it still felt good.
Yeah. It definitely still
It
felt
was
good.
just weird,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. Listen, we'll go with the
We're
jerk
back
off
to our
analogy.
roots. Yep. Anyways, though, special guest Bryce Wagner. Thank you so much for being here tonight, Bryce.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Crowd
I've been
goes wild.
excited to do this since.
Wait, did you go
Wrong
sad
one.
trombone?
Go ahead whenever you want.
This is going to be champagne pop for Bryce.
Woo! Hot dog. Hot dog.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for being here, Bryce. Though me and Bryce, we play music together. Bryce is in my band, Pale Blue Earth.
Shout out Pale Blue Earth.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
a bass player, and so is Mike. So they're going to gang up on me bass style.
Oh,
tonight.
yeah.
Kind of. We're going to tag team you. That's what Bryce and I were talking about earlier.
Absolutely. Do a little Eiffel Tower action.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, speaking of Pale Blue
prepared.
Earth, do you guys have a show lined up
Ah.
that we can plug shamelessly?
Tell them about our show, Bryce.
Well, you know what? Our show is going to be in Orient, Iowa.
We have a show.
And
but-
apparently it's going to be at the childhood home of Henry Wallace.
Wait,
Are you
about-
guys being fucking
that's
serious
that's
right
about
now?
all I know.
actually
I mean,
serious. We don't know any other details.
Our keyboard player Pete set it up. He said it was going to be a good time, and we trusted him. We'll find out
We just
whether
said
or not that
sure.
was a good idea.
Yeah.
Where the
um,
fuck is Orient,
It's
Iowa?
out by Winterset.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, it's not too far away. And he made it sound like it was a pretty cool festival.
nice.
I
It was
looked
like
up
what,
on the-
400? Yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah, I looked up on the website for where we're going to play, and it looks like they're going to have pizza. So I mean, that's a win.
Hey, that's a win for us.
You know, if we show up, we don't get paid, but we get to eat pizza,
You
and
get to
play
eat
music,
pizza?
then I'm cool with that.
Yeah, it's a
Especially
solid.
after not being able to play live music for like a year.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I'll play anywhere.
Anywhere. We'll play
Dude,
down
I
with
would
Get and
go fucking anywhere at this point in time to see live music.
I know.
But it feels like we're at the light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Yeah, because we are going to go some places to see
Yes.
some live music this summer. In fact,
Hooray! Should we talk about that too?
There was
Yeah,
a
we
really
should
big
probably mention
announcement that we should definitely talk about.
Woo!
Something that a lot of people
As
have
you
been
can tell
waiting
by
for.
these guys.
Yeah.
Look at Bryce's
Fucking
shirt.
That's why I
fish.
wore this shirt.
Happy fishing. Happy fishing. That's why we're like, this is my summer tour 2019 shirt. Fucking so excited to get a summer tour 2021 shirt.
2021.
And there's a part of me that hopes that they had printed a whole bunch of shirts
I
for
was
summer
about to
tour
say that.
2020.
Yeah,
And I hope that I can buy a 2020 tour shirt.
it's just like crudely written over with a Sharpie, a
Yeah.
one instead
Oh,
of a
that
zero.
would be so sweet.
Just a bunch of interns that had to fucking scribble out like
thousands
Yeah,
and
like
thousands of
you,
shirts
you buy like a tour shirt with all the dates on it and all the ones that got canceled, you know, just like scribbled out on the back.
crossed out,
with a Sharpie,
Yeah.
like a fucking 6-year-old did it.
or they
That'd be
just
perfect.
literally rip that piece of fabric out and there's just a hole in the shirt.
Yeah,
Dude, people pay extra for that kind of shit.
Yeah,
absolutely.
relic.
It's one of a kind. It's one of a kind. No, but yeah, so Fish is coming back and they're doing a summer and a fall tour. So hopefully it'll just be mayhem all summer and all fall.
Oh, dude, I hope so. I saw a funny meme today because recently the CDC lifted the masks for people that have
Yes.
vaccines. And the meme was it was somebody's tweet and it said basically the CDC saw that Fish continued tour and said fuck it.
Whatever.
Okay, so I have been thinking about this a lot, and I can't remember who exactly I've talked with about this because I don't know that I've talked with you about this, JB, and I definitely haven't talked with you about it, Bryce. But is there any part of you that is a little bit weirded out? I mean, listen, we've all been vaccinated, right?
Yeah.
And now the CDC is basically saying if you've been vaccinated, you don't fucking transmit it. You don't get sick from it. So that's why they're saying if you've been vaccinated, you really don't have to worry about masks indoors or outdoors. But I'm not going to lie to you. There was a part of me that I was thinking about, like, I was thinking about the lot. I'm thinking about the lawn, like all these general admission places. And there was a part of me that I was like, fuck, that's going to be weird being around a bunch of people without a mask on.
You got to
right?
think about the people that you're with, because like when you're hanging out with your crew, it's different. But like when you're in the lot, like how many times have you been at a show having a great time and a total stranger reaches back and is like, dude, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how I'm going to feel about that this time.
That's going to be a little bit weird, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be the same.
It'll be pods without pods.
Well, and even
that's kind of the way I'm envisioning this.
The last today and yesterday going to the store, you know, like yesterday I went to the store for lunch. I went to Hy-Vee downtown without a mask on. And
seriously?
Yeah, I did, because I was like, I keep my vaccination card in my pocket in case anybody wants to razz me about it. You know, like, I'm not being a dick. Like, I'm showing you my card. This is what the CDC said. But it really did feel like almost like those dreams that you have where you go to school without your pants on.
Yeah,
I felt like
weird
that walking into the store. I was like, whoa, and people are looking at me like I'm not wearing pants, and like it definitely felt that way. But
I haven't been that brave yet. Like I went into Price Chopper today. I went down to 4th and Court Hy-Vee today, and every time I'm like, I'm still putting my mask on. And maybe it's just me. I don't know. Maybe
it's just habit at this point.
It is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I'm looking, you and I have had this conversation about like, I miss seeing people's faces. Yeah. You know, my daughter has this piano teacher that's been coming to our house for fucking 6 months now.
And you've never seen their face.
I've never seen this woman's full face. You know,
that's sad.
And actually,
I agree.
But I mean, you know, not unnecessary.
It's not unnecessary. We understand why we did it, but it's nice to get out of it. But I have kind of the same experience, because I've probably had at least 15 plus students that have started throughout this year that I have never seen their faces.
You've never seen their faces
because we wear masks.
Yeah.
Well,
and a couple of them finally now were like, hey, we're both vaccinated. Let's stop wearing masks. And I'm like, wow. That is not what I expected the bottom half of your face to look like at all. That's the thing. If you haven't seen their face, it's never what you expect. I think it's like a mental phenomenon. You like start to construct based on the top half of their face, whatever you expect the bottom half to look like.
Yeah.
And thus far, it has been vastly different on all accounts, every single time.
It's like when you're building Lego characters and you put the body of a fucking Star Wars character with a Harry Potter head on it.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, this shit's not right.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you too, like
you just like
finally, when we've been practicing, we've all been wearing a mask, you know, especially, you know, Pete, he works in a school, and, you know, so like, I mean, we're trying to be really cautious, but now we've all been double poked.
Yeah.
And so we finally, our last
and
two
been
practices,
vaccinated.
Yeah, that's what I mean, double poked.
well, I know that was
but oh yeah.
I didn't know how close you guys were in the band. Now I know.
Listen, there's an initiation, but you don't realize how weird it is to communicate with one another while wearing a mask, because there's a lot of facial expressions, like for cues, like we're about to move on, and your eyes, you would think that like, you know, eyebrow movements or something would be enough, but it's not. I mean, it's simply not. Or like to watch somebody play something, like, you know, like play a little fill, like every now and then JB will play like a cool fill during practice, and I look over, I'm like, but he can't see that I'm doing that behind a mask. I'm just like, you know, and so we're just like
what's wrong with
looking at each other, you know, or like even sometimes I'll play something and maybe JB's doing that to me. I'm like, did I fuck up? Like, I think I might have fucked up. It might just be JB being like, nice, dude. Yeah,
no, you fucked up.
But no, I mean, it's definitely awesome. Shows are coming back.
Yeah.
I mean,
everything's coming back.
Yeah, live music is coming back. Fucking normalcy is coming back, and it's weird because I was listening to NPR this morning, and there was this woman on NPR that was talking about, will this give license to people that haven't been vaccinated to basically just say, fuck this, I don't want to wear a mask. I never wanted to wear a mask to begin with. It
absolutely will.
So I'm going to take off this mask, and if anybody asks me, I'm just going to say, fuck you, I'm vaccinated. I hope that
unless they were to like require card showing, which that's a whole nother.
I honestly thought about some Flava Flav shit. right? Like get
Wearing
my
a big clock.
yeah, but getting my fucking vaccination card, right? Like just
Yeah,
figuring
dude,
out
that's a
some
great
type
idea.
of laminate where I could just shove that shit in and get some nice thick gold chain to wear around my neck.
Well, I mean, they're
Yeah,
small
there
enough.
you go.
Like I fit mine in my wallet, you know. So
Yeah.
like, if somebody wants
you
to ask
grief?
me or give me a razz about it, be like, dude, hey, listen, like I got this. That's why I did it. You know, let's celebrate that we
Yeah.
can do it now. Don't
I've
give
actually
me a
got an
hard time.
appointment. I'm getting mine tattooed right here.
Oh hell yeah,
So,
dude!
I just,
You better leave a spot because I heard
Cool.
you might have to get a. Third
You might have
one
to get a
next year.
booster, so just make sure that you
Yeah.
can
And
get
the
that.
yeah,
boosters
it's gonna
in the
go all the
butt.
way down. I'm gonna have like number 1, 2, 3. You know, yeah, the spot for the date. It's
There
gonna
you
be,
go.
yeah, it's gonna be great.
Okay, so
Mm.
in addition to live music coming back, in addition to Fish coming back, hooray! But for those of our listeners that don't give a fuck about any of that, how about the new music today?
Okay, so
Because there was some.
did you
fucking
listen to
rips
that
today.
fucking killer new Saint Vincent album today?
Fuck yeah, I did.
Oh
that was
my
the first thing that I
God.
listened to. 'Cause
Dude.
It surprised me because I had listened to the singles a couple of weeks ago because I saw that it was like an upcoming release on Apple Music, and so I listened to the 2 singles that were out. But it kind of surprised me because when I pulled it up today, I saw it under the new releases, and I was like, "Oh fuck, the whole thing came out today."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I
Girl
was
crushes.
literally at work and like, you know, I've been scrambling as a dad and working a full-time job trying to make these notes and like thinking back on the podcast things that you do. And
Welcome to our
I'm
world.
like, oh no, I know. I'll tell you what, if anybody that's listening ever becomes a guest on this podcast, you have no idea what these guys, I mean, these guys did a way better job taking notes than I did. You have no idea how much this is like another job, like how much
Yeah.
work you put into it. Like,
but it's a super fun job.
It's a labor of love.
it's fun. It was definitely not tedious. It didn't feel like a chore. It was like I was at work and I'm like, I cannot wait to go home and take these notes.
Take
but,
some notes.
That's right.
but I was thinking today, I was like, oh shit, I need to look up new releases. And I looked up, I just typed in on Google
You got
new
to.
releases.
Michael shame you
today.
if you didn't look up new
And
releases.
St. Vincent dropped her new album.
Daddy's
today,
Home.
Daddy's Home. And
Daddy's home.
I remember a few weeks back, she was a guest on SNL. And usually when my wife and I watch SNL, we watch it on Hulu. We fast forward through the musical guest.
Oh,
But
but,
when
you
s-
listened to it, right? With
But
her?
with St. Vincent, I was like, oh my God, she's coming out with new stuff.
Yeah.
And I really loved watching her on SNL because she kind of like, I don't know, kind of had like a Bowie vibe. Like she
She's
definitely has
super
like a
theatrical.
persona, like an alter ego. It's like
Mhm.
St. Vincent is her Ziggy Stardust.
That's right.
And to watch her, like, I explained to my wife today when we had dinner, I was like, I listened to this album because we both thoroughly enjoyed that live performance. I was
Mhm.
like, this album to me feels like if an artist that you loved in the 70s were able to come fast forward, like Bill and Ted style, come to today and have all of that fucking access to all of the new
All the
equipment,
production
all the new
value.
production stuff, and make that album. St. Vincent, she took that, and that's what she made with this
Yeah.
album. And like,
Absolutely.
I was even texting JB about it. Here, I'm gonna pull it up just because it's so fresh to me.
While you read that,
Um,
in that same vein, I was talking to Justin Handel, another friend of the podcast today, about the new St. Vincent album. And he said, let me pull up his message. He said, honestly, it reminds me of late stage Prince. And I was like,
Mm.
yeah, I get
I
that.
could see that with some, especially
that
some of the
too.
vocals, you know.
Yeah.
But I was telling JB as we were listening, because like I think him and I were pretty much listening to it at the same time. I had to pause it every now and then because of work.
Yeah.
But Living the Dream, it really, like, the guitar starts off and sounds a lot like Us and Them from Pink Floyd.
Oh, okay.
And I was like,
It was
oh,
super
shit.
Floydy.
Yeah,
I got
really
that.
Floyd.
And I also got like the verses of Comfortably Numb from that song. Just the
And
kind of
interesting.
spaciness and the echoey and the vocal style, honestly, was like super laid back. And
Mhm.
Well, then
It
after
was very
that,
Steely Dan for me.
there was another
Yeah.
song
Super
right
Steely
after
Dan.
Living the Dream that she actually mentioned Dark Side of the Moon.
In the lyrics?
And yeah, and
Wow.
and like
I didn't
she
dig that
said
deep.
Dark Side of the Moon. And man, I'm having such a brain fart, but like there's like a slide guitar in one of the songs in Dark Side of the Moon. Like what song is it right before Money? There's like a slide guitar and like
the Great Gig in the Sky.
yes, it like borrowed a riff like the like borrowed that slide guitar riff right after she said Dark Side of the Moon. I was like, I feel like this might be intentional a little
Nice.
It
bit.
very well could
Maybe
be.
not. Maybe
Listen,
I'm just reading too hard into
super,
it.
super fucking smart. And Apple does this write up where they were clearly interviewing her, and she talked about how with Mass Seduction, the previous album, like everything about that album was incredibly tight and kind of strict in terms of how she was composing the music, even down to all of the outfits that she wore on that tour. And I feel really lucky because my wife and we took Victoria to see her over in Omaha when she played on that tour.
That's so awesome.
And she fucking smashed. She did 2 sets. One of them was basically like a greatest hits set of all of her earlier stuff. And then the second set, she played Mass Seduction cover to cover, which was really dope because I love that record. It's probably my favorite St. Vincent record, which I know a lot of people that are big fans of St. Vincent will probably think is somewhat sacrilege.
Who cares?
But I
love that one.
absolutely loved it. I mean, I loved every fucking track on that
On
record.
Mass Seduction or on the new one?
No, on Mass Seduction.
I felt the same way about Mass Seduction. Personally, my favorite is the self-titled.
yeah.
Like the one with Prince Johnny and Birth in Reverse and all those tunes. I fucking love every song on that. That's one of those every song records is just as good as the next.
Yeah.
And Mass Seduction, I almost feel that way, but for me, it's got to be the one that came before it.
But this was so much fun because it was so loose relative to what she did before. And that's kind of what she was alluding to in the interview. You know, she was like, listen, everything was so tightly choreographed on my previous album that on this album, I just wanted it to be really loose and kind of organic feeling, and fucking nailed it. It's so good.
I will say, I do want to share my St. Vincent story. Not very long, but the first time I ever listened to St. Vincent, I was broke as hell. It was summer. 8035 was going on. And I had this awesome idea to get into the festival with a friend. I had a backpack full of beer, and I was like, I'll tell you what, if we just like dance through the line and feel confident, they're not going to stop us. So we did. And so the very first time I ever heard St. Vincent was St. Vincent and David Byrne at 8035.
Ooh.
Which is funny because today we are going to talk about a Talking Heads album,
With David
and
Byrne.
it's David Byrne's birthday.
What?
Today.
Yeah,
It's David Byrne's
today.
birthday?
It is.
Ah, happy birthday, David
Happy
Byrne.
birthday, David Byrne.
You son of a bitch.
This is kind of off topic, but I just wanted to share my funny sneaking into 8035 story.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's hear it.
I think it was the year after St. Vincent was here, and I was similarly broke. And so my friend had gone down, and I was living with a bunch of guys at the same time, kind of like a bachelor pad type of house. And my buddy was down there. I texted him and said, "Hey, what color are the wristbands?" And he sent me a picture, and I literally went to Nobby's and bought a whole package of the same color wristbands, and I got like 25 people into it.
Holy shit. Oh my God. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Well done.
Looking back, I feel pretty shitty about it, but I had no money at the time. I was probably like 20 or something like that.
Yeah.
I made bad decisions, and like there were just random people. I was like, "Hey, you want to?"
You want in?
If
You want into 8035?
if 8035 happens this year, don't be afraid to, let the guys at this podcast know what color the wristband is. And
It's already, unfortunately, 8035 has already
It's
been
already
shit
been
canned.
canceled.
oh, it has.
Yeah.
I
They already
didn't pay
shit
much
canned it,
attention.
which is a bummer, but that's okay. I mean, hopefully it'll come back bigger and better next year.
You have to wonder if they're regretting that with like the more recent announcements that are coming
about
out.
COVID.
Maybe so, maybe not.
Maybe
It could've
not.
been- well played. It could have been a booking issue too, though.
It could very well have been that. And it could just be a situation where they want to just make the safest call, and they're not going to worry about what comes out after that. Because you can't. You
How
can't.
much money do you have wrapped up in a festival for? Oh my God.
fuck-
Well,
fucking
I'm
time.
sure they have insurance of some kind.
Either way, dude,
Yeah.
you got a fucking ton of money wrapped up in that, and I don't fault them. It'll be back.
Yeah, no
Another
fault
honorable
them.
mention. Did either of you check out J. Cole? J. Cole's got a new record out
No,
today.
I did see a lot of friends on Facebook, and did he have like a freestyle on Breakfast Club or something? Or what? He did a freestyle this week. I listened to
I
a
didn't
little
hear
bit
the
of that
freestyle.
on Facebook,
Mm-mm.
and I only have one problem with these freestyles that I see.
Okay.
Is I wonder how much of it is really freestyle or how much of it is like almost like a stand-up comedian working out material in their head. You know what I'm saying?
That's-
like
I kind
did
of
they already like kind of write these ideas, but they've learned how to string them together, which I'm not discrediting. I can't do that. If that's what they're doing, that's insane.
And that's
but
what
my idea of a freestyle is like,
coming up
you
on
know,
the spot.
like, all right, give me a word, and then you rap and you rhyme on that word. Or you know what I'm saying? Like,
I have to imagine that MCs have tropes that they can fall back to, right? Because if you've been doing this for a long time, it's no different than being a guitar player, right?
You're gonna have your licks and your riffs that you go back to.
You're gonna have your go-to.
I guess I never thought of it like that.
You're gonna have your go-to licks, riffs.
There's gonna be words you would tend to string together and stuff.
That's and you know that these words flow together really well. And so I'm sure that that's taking place. I love what is it? 2014 Forest Hills Drive, I think, was J. Cole's second or third album. Like that album fucking rips. I only listened to about half of this one as I was getting ready today, and so I didn't give it a full listen, but I really enjoy J. Cole. I can't wait to check out more of it. I did end up listening to more of that Black Keys album because the Black Keys dropped a new album today too.
Yep.
And I haven't been as big on recent Black Keys. Like, quite frankly, I thought Let's Rock should have been probably called Let's Suck for this album.
Suck.
But at the same time, like, I really love El Camino. I love Brother. Like, those are both really good albums. And so I'm going to go back and listen to the new Black Keys a little bit more. But either way, listen, it was a stacked day of new music, like a big stacked day.
So in my friends group, I notoriously hate the Black Keys.
Oh,
I'm kind of similar. I don't hate them, but I told Mike earlier that I've never really gotten into them.
So this is where it started. So at first, I was like, the Black Keys are okay. Like, they're whatever. I didn't have an opinion about them. I didn't want to seek them out.
Yeah.
And then I went to a concert with a friend in Kansas City, mainly to see the Flaming Lips. It was such a weird lineup. You had the Flaming Lips were opening for the Black Keys.
That's fucking weird.
And so I was there for the Flaming Lips. And if you saw the way I was dressed and how I was behaving, I was clearly there for the Flaming Lips. And if you looked at everybody behind me, they were clearly there for the Black Keys.
Black Keys. Yeah.
And I was dressed up. Like, I like to dress up when I go to shows. And Wayne Coyne came out. He was holding a baby, like a baby doll, and like they had strobe lights, all this crazy stuff going on. I literally heard somebody behind me say, "What the fuck is going on?" when the Flaming Lips are playing, right? But so then, I'm so happy. The Flaming Lips, they fucking killed it.
Yeah.
And then the Black Keys come on, and they're doing great. They got a really awesome stage presence. The songs, they're hitting hard. And then out of nowhere, they're like, "All right," and then almost everybody in the band leaves. And then it's just the main two guys. And they say, "All right, who wants to hear some songs with just us two now?" And then everybody freaks out. And I was like, okay, so fuck the rhythm guitar player, fuck the bass player, right? Like, how do those guys feel? And like at that point, that was the very beginning of my hatred for the Black Keys. Aww. And then at that point, I'm like, fuck the Black Keys. And it's like,
I've never heard you say you hate any band.
Dude, that's the one band I hate. And not only that, but it's like, you got a two-piece. You got a guitar player and a drummer.
Yeah.
Named the Black Keys. The White Stripes came before the Black Keys. You cannot tell me that they didn't totally just fucking rip off the White Stripes.
That's a mad beef right there, too.
Dude, it is, and for a very good reason. Because Jack White knows that he made a band called the White Stripes. And they made a band called the Black Keys. It's like,
no, I get that.
Come on.
And you and I have talked about that before.
Like, I work at West End Salvage. That would be like if I opened a similar store called East End Salvage. It was like, fuck you guys. I build very similar furniture. Like it would be like the same thing in my opinion. But
I hope that's not a real beef. I mean, I hope everybody knows who wins that fucking beef.
It's definitely the White Stripes.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a ton of respect for Jack White. At the same time, though, I give credit where credit's due. And Brother, the album by the Black Keys, is a phenomenally good record. But I'll also say this: that was I want to. Well, I'm trying to think. Magic Potion. I think they did bring in some additional instrumentation on Magic Potion maybe before then, but Brother was the first one where they really filled out the sound, right? They had a bass player. They had some organ work that was on that record as well. So even though they've always been billed as like a guitar drum two-piece, Brother is not that. I mean, it's got like a really, really full and robust sound, and it's really good.
I'll check out that album. And
You
like
should.
I'll admit, I haven't spent a lot of time with the Black Keys.
Dude, you're gonna come back next time you're on the
But-
episode. You'll be like, "Hey, I fucking love the
That
Black
is
Keys."
not.
It's a
gonna
really
happen.
good-
That
Actually,
ain't gonna happen. But I will say,
might.
maybe I'll be like, I really respect the Black Keys. It might. Maybe it comes out that way.
I'm looking through the track listing for brothers. What was the?
I
there
will
like
say
a
though
big-
that I've
big
heard the
song
guys
off
from
of
the
that
Black
one?
Keys are cool as hell.
Howlin' for You.
Howlin' for You.
Yeah.
There's a song called "Never Gonna Give You Up." Is that a cover of like Rick Astley? Never.
No,
Are you
it
never
is
gonna let you
absolutely
down
not.
either?
It's
Oh.
absolutely not. In fact, that's a super great track. It's really, really bluesy though. And that whole record is just rife with a ton of really, really great blues riffs. And I'm telling you, it's worthwhile. Even if you say to me, man, I fucking hate the Black Keys, there's nothing you can do to change my opinion of it. That's fine.
I'm
And
definitely not that guy, by the way. And hate is a super strong word.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's weird to hear
it's
Bryce
an
talk like that. 'Cause I've
it's
never
an
heard him say
inside
something
joke
so.
for me and my friends. Like, I'll be like, "Fuck the Black Keys. I fucking hate the Black Keys." It's like it's an inside joke. But I mean,
Tighten Up was probably a bigger radio hit than Howlin' for You. But honestly, dude, like the second track on that album is so good. It's called Next Girl. And the chorus of that is so fucking good because it's basically about how he's not going to make the same mistakes with his next girl that he made with this girl, but the rhythm behind it is it's fucking catchy and it's really, really good. You should listen, just give it a shot.
I'll give it a shot.
Check it out.
It might end up, when I listen to the Black Keys, maybe at the end of the album, I really want to buy a car or something,
Like an El Camino.
It's just like the best car commercial music of all time.
That is
you
true.
know?
Yeah,
Possibly.
it's almost like your relationship with the Black Keys is like mine with harmonica has become on this podcast.
I think
Well,
that
I
they
like
are,
said a
I
couple
think that they're
comments.
very similar because I think that you could probably admit that, Bob Dylan harmonica is the shit,
That's
right?
not, it's just so Lee Samper,
Like Bob Dylan harmonica is
So
the
I was
shit.
just saying that I need to make a playlist of what I consider to be, and I texted Mike and a
This
couple of
is
other
very
buddies this today,
necessary.
and I said,
acceptable.
well, hold on. I said of what I considered to be unnecessary harmonica and what I consider to be acceptable harmonica, because I don't think any is necessary, but there is some that is acceptable. But I do. So the very first song on the good harmonica list was going to be "Times They Are Changing" by Bob Dylan. I think that's a perfect example of
He does
where
so
harmonica
much.
really added to it.
Yeah,
but I
he
feel
does
like
so much acceptable harmonica.
my complaint against harmonica is just when it feels like they were like, let's thicken up this section a little bit, even though we've already kind of, written it, and we don't usually have a harmonica in our band. Nobody plays harmonica
Yeah.
in this band
This space
when we
feels
play
blank.
live. But you know what? Let's just throw some on in the studio in this section just to make it, because we can. Why not?
Well, I mean, you got to give Dylan the credit, though. I mean, he was playing a guitar.
No, again,
singing,
yeah, I like the Dylan
and
harmonica,
playing harmonica.
and I like that. If that's like if it's a
It's better
feature,
than scatting.
if it's a feature, then I don't have. If it's like you're playing guitar and you're doing harmonica and that's your thing, I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is just when it just feels like it's thrown into the mix of a band that doesn't need it. It's already complete.
Dude,
know?
I definitely like anytime I've listened to this podcast and I know that there's harmonica on the track. I am looking forward to you saying unnecessary harmonica. I could feel it coming.
Do you think that John Popper just should have been aborted as a child?
I have
John
barely
Popper's
listened to Blues Traveler.
John Popper's entire existence should be obliterated off the map.
Well, he's
That guy has a
he's like
fucking
really good,
vest.
right?
He has a vest of harmonicas, bro. He fucking wears
Tough
them.
one.
He wears them like a Navy SEALs wears magazines full of bullets. He's just like,
Oh,
what are we in?
shit.
We're in the key of C.
It's like the Expendables, but harmonica style.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to. I've not listened to a lot of Blues Traveler, so I can't really comment on that.
I
But
can't hate
I
on
assume
Blues
I'd have a
Traveler,
problem,
but
Blues Traveler's a lot.
there's a
There's
lot.
a lot
There's
of
a
fucking
lot of fucking
harmonica.
harmonica, dude.
That would actually be something akin to, I don't know, like a like a fucking Joe Rogan Fear Factor challenge for JB to listen to an entire fucking Blues Traveler.
All right, for
album.
this challenge, you're gonna have to lay down on this bed and listen to 5 hours of harmonica.
Oh God.
Bring in John Popper.
Of just pure harmonica, not like good Bob
No.
Dylan harmonica, just like
We're talking jazz harmonica,
just jazz,
free
harp.
form jazz harmonica.
Okay.
Hey guys, I hate to be that guy, but I'm gonna use the restroom real quick.
This is
before
the
we dig
earliest
into the
restroom
first
break
one.
we've ever had.
Yeah,
We are
Wow.
30 minutes and 13
Listen,
seconds in.
I
and
am
Bryce-
the
powerful.
water champ. I've been drinking a lot of water today. I'll be
That's
right
good.
back.
Okay, go to
All
the
right.
bathroom.
While you
Um,
go, we're gonna start talking about the album.
I was gonna say let's jump into this. So because otherwise this is gonna be the 4-hour fucking podcast. Okay, so starting off this week, we're doing three, and just to catch everybody up, obviously we're working through Rolling Stone's list of the 500 greatest albums of all time. We have gone through the first 135 albums on the list, and so this week we're starting off at number 365. Coming in at 365 from 2004, Mad Villain's album Mad Villainy. Rolling Stone says this collaboration between rapper MF Doom and producer Madlib is one of underground hip hop's greatest moments. Madlib provides a shifting bed of warped, funky, and wildly unpredictable samples, drawing on everything from Thunder and Lightning's Bump and Bus Stop to the theme of Justice League of America. Doom's rhymes are so casually adventurous that sometimes it takes a second to notice how stunning they are. Quote, still back in the game like Jack LaLanne, think you know the name, don't wreck your brain on a fast track to half sane. Hell yeah. And actually, that little exclamation point at the end of that description from Rolling Stone is fucking money in the bank. 'Cause I can't even begin to describe how spectacularly good this record is.
Dude, I can't tell you how
It's
many
good.
times on my notes that I wrote "hell yeah" or "fuck yeah" at the end with an exclamation mark. I'm like, oh my god.
Before we get into this, we should point out Bryce has taken no less than 7 pages of notes
8.
on this. Sorry, 8. I correct myself. 8, no less than 8 pages of notes on this album alone.
I had to
Which is
do it.
stunning.
Remember, you got to all caps when you spell the man's name. MF Doom. He
All
passed
caps.
away.
I wrote that line down.
He
All
passed
caps when
away.
you spell
Dude,
the
I'll
man's
tell you
name.
what. When Doom died, everybody was saying that. I mean, remember all caps when you spell the man's name.
Was that
MF Doom.
was that only from this one song, or is that something he says a lot?
No, that's a reference from this song. I listened to a lot of MF Doom. I can't recall off the top of my head if he says that again. But one thing that a lot of people say about Doom is he's your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. Like,
Yeah, like a comics comic.
yeah, definitely, absolutely. Mos Def, he was like really beat up when Doom died. Like Mos Def idolized Doom. Like everybody loved Doom. I mean, he was very underground. But even like, in the Rolling Stone description, like you said, I know I was gone, but I read it earlier today. Like, you have to like marinate in some of the things that he says before you realize how genius they are. Like, I mean, and a lot of them too, like he does a lot of name dropping of like people that I'm not familiar with, that I'm sure if I were more familiar with them, like those rhymes would mean a lot more to me. But,
Yeah. Or you just realize how clever they are.
dude, he's really clever. And like, honestly, like I know I took 8 notes. I mean, 8 pages of notes. The majority of them are actually, I wrote down every single sample that Madlib put on this album, which is insane, by the way. But I mean,
That's awesome,
if I
Bryce.
had more time, I would have like sat down and wrote some of my favorite lyrics that Doom dropped. The one thing I want to say about Doom is like whenever you listen to anything that Doom is rhyming on, like you feel cool while you're listening to him rhyme. Like, I mean, like his flow is so awesome. Like,
just with it
feel
being so
cool
underground, you feel like you're
knowing
kind
about
of
it.
you almost feel like you're in on a secret.
Yeah, it's
I
like
know.
you're
Yeah.
in the club, like you know about Doom, and like when you're a fan of him and you say to somebody like that is a hip hop fan, do you know about MF Doom? And they don't, you're like, oh my god, dude, I can't wait to open you up to this world. And
That's
like,
exactly what my son did to me.
I'll tell you what, I mean, this album is great. I love Doom. I will say, like, Doom definitely a star on this album. To me personally, Madlib is the biggest star on
Okay,
this
so
album.
thank you, because
genius,
that's
dude.
what I was gonna say.
He is
But
a
if you want to
fucking
listen
genius.
to an album where Doom is D-Star, listen to Food. The
Okay.
whole fucking album is about food. I mean, the whole thing. And it's
I love that
it's
idea.
insane. And then
'Cause I like
also
food,
listen
too.
to Danger Doom. Danger Mouse and MF Doom did an album together.
Shit.
That sounds
And
cool.
it's like the whole album is like it's almost like a concept album. It's all Adult Swim. Like,
Well,
dude,
and that's what this is
Meatwad
too.
has a
for the
thing on there.
record.
Frylock has a thing on there. Space Ghost is on that album. Like,
Well, but
it's
I mean,
really awesome.
this is a concept album too,
Yeah, it's like a
right?
it's almost
is,
like
absolutely.
50s announcer, like supervillain style. It feels like a old school like Batman episode that you're watching.
Yeah, but
you know?
instead of the hero being Batman, the
It's a
hero's the
supervillain.
villain.
It's like an anti-hero situation.
yeah, it's like an
the
anti-hero
way that I like to
concept
think
album.
about it is like, so first of all, this is how I look at rap. You have rap and you have hip hop. Rap to me is primarily West Coast, like Tupac.
Hmm.
And then you have hip hop, and that's like Biggie Smalls and Wu-Tang Clan and all that other shit. That's
That's
East Coast.
interesting. I've never.
This
heard
is
that
very East Coast to me.
before. Okay.
And just like Wu-Tang Clan, like, you know, you have Ghostface, he's Tony Stark.
hmm
MF Doom, he's,
Mad
Doom.
villain.
you know, he's Doom. He's
Oh,
Dr.
sure.
Doom.
Dr. Doom.
Okay.
Yeah, I got you.
All
And
right.
so like it very much follows in that same vein for me. And like
Interesting.
I love though, it's like, you know, you listen to Ghostface rap about how he's Tony Stark, you know, like they're heroes, you know?
Yeah.
And he's like, I am the villain. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, he has no
I love
qualms
it.
with just being like, I'm a fucking evil supervillain. And
yeah,
I'm gonna get you in the night, you know, kind of thing.
absolutely.
But yeah, Mad Lib, so fucking killer. He had this like one technique
Dude.
that he used on several songs where he would just kind of let the beat go for a while, and then he would just randomly just drop the beat on just the downbeat of a measure, just be like boom, and then it would like drum back
Yeah.
in. And he did that on so many tunes. And just reading about him making this, like he made most of the beats in a hotel room in I think it was somewhere in Brazil, maybe. It was somewhere in South America. He was in a hotel room, and I want to say it was Brazil. And then he ended up someone ended up stealing a copy of this record
No,
and like
way.
releasing it
What?
on the internet.
What?
And
Really?
they were like at a show, and he had a bunch of people coming up being like, "Man, we love your new Mad Villain record." He's like, "What?" And they ended up like shelving this project for an extended period of time, like almost a year or like 6 months to a year,
Because he was
before
pissed
they were
that it
so
dropped.
pissed. Yeah, that someone had
Damn,
stolen
dude,
it
I never knew that.
in Brazil. Yeah.
I'm so
Wow.
glad he looked into that because I told JB, I was like, man, what is this record? Like 46 minutes long? I think I
Something
spent
like
like
that.
2 or 3 hours taking notes for this just because I wrote down all
All the
of
samples.
samples.
Yeah.
So like I was really hoping that you guys would come through with like some of the information about like the background of this album.
So tell me
and
this.
stuff.
So for both of you guys, what was your favorite track in terms of the sampling that Mad Lib did? Like,
All right,
what was
so-
your favorite?
I will say maybe not my favorite, but I have 2 that are incredibly impressive. And one that, you know, like, so this track, it had samples on it that they occur all throughout this album. So it's from this artist, oh man, I may not pronounce this right. Jack Moralgus, I think is what it is. And so it's basically, that sample is kind of like a comedy album, like a Cheech and Chong style album where he talks about weed. So like at one point in time, I think it's during America's Most Blunted. It's
America's
like,
Most
remember, you know, he like spells out marijuana and like
Yes.
the xylophone.
And he spells
Yes.
it wrong, doesn't he?
No. He just spells it old school.
It's like marijuana.
Yeah.
You
He
know,
spells
like-
it like super old schooly marijuana style.
So I
Yeah.
listened to that album and laughed my ass off. So America's Most Blunted. I don't remember how long that song is. I imagine it's like an average song, 3
Yeah.
4 minutes long. Had 18 samples
I think it's like 2
in
minutes.
that song.
yeah, I don't even know that it's 3 minutes
18
long.
samples.
That
And
one,
then another one that was really impressive to me, which is absolutely bonkers in my opinion. I gotta find it in my 8 pages of notes. This song, it wasn't even a full minute long. All right, so Do Not Fire. It was an
Fuck
instrumental.
yes, dude.
So I wrote Mad Lib at it again. The instrumentals almost feel like they almost felt like skits to me.
That was one of
like,
my favorites.
Because I know I've heard you talk about Muddy Waters a few times, which I fucking
I
love that
Muddy
album.
Waters,
I
dude.
love like the chicken head skit, like it's so funny. I love like, the early 90s rap skits, like they're funny, like like you saw on the Far Side and stuff.
Yeah.
But I feel like
you don't mean
Mad
Muddy
Lib-
Waters, okay.
No, I mean Muddy Waters by Redman. Yeah,
Right.
but
love that fucking
I
record.
love all of like the early 90s skits, like
Yeah.
I think they're really funny. I think they're clever. Wu-Tang Clan did it a lot
Wu-Tang
too.
did it a ton.
But I feel like Madlib was really good at using some of the samples as skits, especially like, there's a lot of times where Madlib uses trailers for movies throughout this album for
Mhm.
like horror movies and stuff.
I can see that, like old school, like 40s and 50s horror movies. and stuff.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But I feel like Madlib is really good during his instrumentals to use some of those samples as like skits. But it was 52 seconds long.
Do Not Fire.
Do Not Fire.
Yeah. Do Not Fire was 52 seconds
So
long.
what did you
And
love about
Madlib
that?
Put 9 samples in 52 seconds. Sampled
so-
9 different fucking things.
Okay, so America's Most Blunted was the one that I gave the most stars to. Like, that's by far and away my favorite song. Like, that fucking song is really, really killer. Not so much because of the rap, right? Because actually, from a rapping standpoint, I would say, I'd say Shadows of Tomorrow. Like, the bars that Quasimodo spits in the beginning of Shadows
Super
of
good.
Tomorrow are
Dude,
fucking
Shadows of Tomorrow-
ridiculous,
Dude, it was insane.
so ridiculous.
Shadows of Tomorrow has the most stars for me.
Yeah, but I loved America's Most Blunted because I loved the way that he put together all of this weed reference and samples and everything. But Do Not Fire, I put 3 stars next to, and it's almost entirely because the fucking Street Fighter 2 samples that he uses in Do
right?
Not Fire are like, as soon as it was like Yoga Flame, I was like, what the fuck, Dalsim? and then it goes on because then there's Chun-Li samples in there too, where she's like,
Okay, I didn't know what that was.
dude, it's all Street Fighter 2. Like, it's all
Dude.
from fucking Street Fighter 2, the video game.
There's Street Fighter samples all throughout this
I loved it
album.
so much.
So that
It's
song and a lot of other
ridiculous.
tracks kind of reminded me, production style wise, of Jay Dilla. Did you get a lot of that?
Yes, absolutely.
No, when I was listening to this album, actually, I came over to your house the weekend before and we were talking about Jay Dilla, and I knew that you were going to bring that up.
Yeah. It's impossible not to, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, no, absolutely.
It's impossible not to. I mean, they're 2 entirely different flavors. If Jay Dilla is hot cocoa, Mad Lib is coffee.
But Jay
Right?
Dilla kind of influenced everyone, I feel like, going forward.
I think so too.
What year
But
did
remember-
the Jay Dilla album?
Yeah,
come
so
out
this
that you
was
guys-
2004. Jay Dilla Donuts was 2006, I believe.
Was it?
I'll fact check that because we're not that far away from Jay Dilla, but I'm pretty sure Jay Dilla was 2000.
And I don't mean that as in a bad way to Mad Lib at all. I mean that as a superb compliment. I think Jay Dilla is amazing.
He's
I
a
do
stud.
love on America's Most Blended. One
Yeah,
of the
Donuts was
samples
2006.
that they included from that comedy weed album I talked about was there was a quote that said, "Grass will change your musical habits for the better."
For the
And I
better.
wrote,
Studies show it makes everybody more creative.
It makes everybody more creative, yeah.
I was like, I love weed rap. I love when rappers talk about weed because, I mean, a lot of people smoke weed, but I don't like it when it becomes I'm not trying to diss or anything, but like Wiz Khalifa, it's like, I get it, dude. You smoke a fucking ton of weed. I
Yeah,
get it. And you're really good at rapping
too
about
much.
it too. Like, you're great at rapping about it, but
I
like,
want it to be
this is kind of
clever,
like
though.
casual,
Yeah.
It's like, it's not like, if you listen to this song as like an average listener, excuse me, if I like told one of my friends, like, listen to this song, they wouldn't be like, oh, dude, this song's all about smoking weed.
It's funny that you say that because I feel much the same way, but that's probably why I love Muddy Waters so much, because to me, Redman and Method Man are like the 2 best rappers that I love to hear them rapping about smoking weed.
Did you see them at Woolies when they came through?
No, I did
Dude,
not.
that happened
I'm
on my
so
birthday,
sad. Oh.
And I saw that. Oh my god.
Redman, like,
But they're clever about it though. They're not like They're not like, this is my entire life.
No,
you know,
they
like
just,
they
work
yeah,
it in
we
the
smoke weed.
funniest ways. And Redman
Exactly.
on Muddy Waters, when he's like, "Hey, yo, I got a slight problem. I smoke weed too much."
I know, dude. It's so funny. Have you
It's
checked
just
out
hilarious,
his
dude.
latest 80 bars thing that he's done?
I have not.
All right.
I'll get
Listen
caught
to
up.
it, and then I want to hear next week what your opinion
Okay.
is on it.
All right. That'll be my homework for next week.
Did you guys write anything down? I'm curious on Meat Grinder.
Let me see. I know I wrote down shit for every.
I wrote
fucking
down
song.
shit on everything.
But like,
too.
I want to know specifically what you
track
guys
is
wrote
that?
down. That's track 3,
All right. Let's see what I got.
because I'm curious to see if you guys found the same thing I found.
I wrote fucking insane flows. I loved it a lot. I wrote the intro is wild, but the beat was super slick. Just a really, really slick beat. That's what those are my notes for Meat Grinder.
So I wrote. Oh shit, that was a continued. Let's see. Let's see. All right.
If I'm the only
So
one that noticed
here's
this.
the deal. Here's the
Ooh.
fucking deal. The Meat Grinder is the biggest one for me, actually. So, JB, did you say that Mike's sister has like a spreadsheet on this?
She does.
Okay. So, how many Zappa albums are on
0.
this list?
Did
This
she
is-
look into it?
So, I gave this
She
song.
confirmed that.
I
0.
gave this song 10 stars.
10 stars. The most stars any song has ever got.
And this is why. Because this is the only fucking time you're gonna hear Zappa on.
Yeah,
this
Frank
list.
Zappa's voice.
That's not
is on
true.
that one. No, you did hear him.
We've
another
already
time.
heard it.
You heard him
When?
on Jay Dilla.
Jay Dilla
Yeah, Jay
fucking
Dilla
sampled.
sampled dance contest. And it's a super
Dance contest or Dancing Fool.
I thought it's dance contest.
The Jay Dilla song was called Dance Contest.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
what
I'm
so-
fucking
what
it
song
up.
did he
What
sample?
was
I don't know what it was. It was not a song. It was like a spoken line
it
by
was a
Frank.
skit from Frank
Okay.
Zappa, but what album, dude, what album was it from?
It was.
You recognized it as
I
soon-
recognized it, but I don't remember what it was from. To tell you the truth, it,
So,
it almost
yes.
sounded like a live sample. Like he was
it
like
did.
doing. It was like a dance contest. He was
Yeah.
like he was like
Oh
directing.
no!
people.
Frank was really well known for doing dance contests.
So it was probably
especially
from,
like on Halloween and shit.
I bet
know,
you
that
it was
his
a
thing.
live sample from.
Okay, I'll go
It
back
was
and listen
very
to that.
clearly
then.
Frank Zappa, though. Yeah, go back and listen to
But-
Jay Dilla.
Okay,
you
but
know, it pisses me off because if you look at the last iteration of this list, Zappa had 2 albums in the top 200, and now they're gone. He has none.
Wow.
So
Really?
I mean, yeah, and
Jesus.
I will say though, I'm familiar with Madlib using Zappa during his beats. He has.
Yeah.
I'll have to send it to you guys. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he has a song that Doom raps over, where basically it's like I don't even know if he can consider it a sample. Doom basically raps over Peaches and Regalia,
Okay.
and it's
Yeah.
fucking awesome.
So the song is Mash. That was the name of the Jay Dilla song.
Oh, then it was
Mash.
Dance Contest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The name of the Zappa song was the name of the Zappa song is Dance Contest.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
that's where it comes from. Now it could have been a skit on a Zappa record.
It was
That's
probably
definitely
off
what
a
it
live
was.
album.
But getting back to Meat Grinder.
Yeah.
It's literally Tom Sawyer by Rush. I wish I could play it and not get us
and
kicked
not
off
get-
YouTube.
Yeah, get kicked
But
off.
it's literally
Text that to
the
me
bass
right now.
line. I'll show you afterwards. Don't you worry. It's dun. There's one note changed. They go to instead of going and for the music theory nerds out here, it goes instead of going to the 4th, he goes from the minor third to the major third. But then the rest of it is the same. It's very clearly. I'm pretty sure it's intentional because it's exactly the same thing.
Really?
It's dun and 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 dun. The whole thing is, and it's. I'm pretty sure it has to be an intentional nod to that song, or even a sample of it that he doctored up, and changed some of the tuning up a little bit.
Man.
But I'll show you guys after the podcast. If
Absolutely.
we wouldn't get pulled off YouTube, if we were only on Spotify, we would play it for you guys right now.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
there was also what songs? All right, so Money Folder, right? So Money
Track
Folder,
11, Mike.
yeah, track 11, Money Folder. So I loved how Doom says they flipped it like Madlib did an old jazz standard, and then like after that, Madlib throws in like an old jazz standard in the beat, right?
I
I
made a
love
note
it. I mean,
exactly about that, Bryce.
It was fucking awesome. But I will say, here's what's funny about this. So, like I said, I went through and I wrote down every sample. And
at the end, there's a fuck ton of samples, right?
So on this album, there's 6 samples. On the 4th sample, and by the way, I just want to let people know, I am not intelligent enough to like know what all these songs are just by listening to it. I looked it up. There's a website. It's like I think.
Oh,
it's
you
called,
motherfucker!
I think it's called.
I thought you were fucking.
No,
God damn it!
Actually, I take that back. I have a really great ear. But
really great, really
I
fantastic.
think there's a
Just a
website
stellar
it's called
ear.
Who Sampled. It's like whosampled.com.
Who sampled who, right?
And it tells you like all the samples in a song. And so the 4th sample on Money Folder is John 8:7, the fucking Bible. And like,
oh Jesus.
So like it like there's a date after every sample. And I thought this was funny because in parentheses,
it's like 32 AD.
0000. It's like
holy shit, it really was, huh? Hey, so what if you wrote down every sample? What is the jazz song that is sampled at the end of all caps?
You know, I couldn't tell you. There is a YouTube video that goes through every sample through every Doom song. Because I mean, dude.
And you didn't take the time to watch that, Bryce?
You know,
I think twice before having you on this fucking podcast.
But my kids needed hugs.
I made a note on that too, dude. The sample at the tail end.
Because at the end of all caps, it went into a jazz standard tune, and I was like, I know that song. I'm pretty sure I've played it at gigs before, but I can't figure out what it is.
I will tell you guys, here's what I intend on doing. I plan on making a playlist of every fucking sample from this album.
Wow. Dude, that's a ballsy playlist, man.
So I'd like to do that and share it with you guys. And then if you guys could share it with the audience, that would be great. But
we'll definitely do that.
Just because like the number one takeaway for me from this album is Madlib's like musical vocabulary has to be huge. Like that guy,
unquestionable.
I love somebody that could walk into a record store, flip through and be like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to buy this one. And I feel like Madlib does that a lot.
Well, that's the thing is talking about his trip to Brazil. I remember,
dude, there's a lot of world music on this.
It's almost all. That's almost what it all is.
Dude,
I remember reading about
sample
him.
I can't read. Like it's I looked it up on that site. It's not in English. But there's no translation, nothing. I have no fucking idea what it's called.
But going back to how I was talking about, he recorded this in a hotel room in Brazil. Apparently he was down there like fucking digging through crates of records, and he picked almost all of his shit for this album from down there.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
It's wonderful. All that being said,
do you want it on the list?
I do want to make one more mention real quick.
Okay.
Operation Lifesaver. So at the very beginning, I love that song because it has the best way that I could describe it was like it was a really haunting sound.
Super short too.
Like the way that the synth sounded at the beginning, it sounded haunting, almost like I was Mario and I was entering like a haunted castle where booze were everywhere. You know, like you know what I'm talking about, right? Like it was really haunting. Like it sounded spooky to me.
Yeah.
And I've always loved that song. And once I dug through and I looked at the samples, I actually gave this sample 5 stars. And it is Prepare Yourself by George Duke. That is the sample. That synth line at the beginning of that song, that's Operation Lifesaver, is George Duke. And I do want to say, I listened to that song like 4 times today. That song fucking rips.
Nice.
Listen to that song. And actually, that song is why I want to make a playlist.
I want to get
all
this
of these
playlist.
samples.
That's what I
Because,
was just going to say.
you know, I love
playlist.
listening to an album and seeing all these samples and then listening to a song. And that sample might be like 2 seconds of that song.
Yeah.
But it sticks out so hard.
Well, I think we all love
Big
this one.
props, Matt.
So I think let's move on. But we all love this. We all want it on the list. Do you guys think it's in a good placement?
I think it should be higher. That's my personal opinion. But
how much higher do you want to see it?
You know, I really don't know. I mean, that's my personal opinion. To be totally honest, I'm glad it even made it on this list.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised.
MF Doom is not a well-known rapper. Madlib is not a well-known
Yeah, it's
producer.
underground hip hop for sure.
It's
They probably
super underground. I can't even believe it made it on this list. I'd love to see it higher, but I'm just glad it's on the list.
How about you, Mike?
I'm the same. But I mean, I'll move it up. Like, I'm not shy about moving up stuff that I enjoy. How much farther I want to move it up? I could see it at 250, honestly. Because I love the
I
flows,
agree.
dude. Like, I love the flows.
250.
I think the samples are just so uniquely inventive. I mean, let's be honest. We still have 6 fucking Kanye albums.
And we
haven't even gotten to a single Kanye album yet. And the idea that Kanye is such a fucking genius, but we're going to put every single one of the 6 Kanye albums that appear above this.
and I agree with that.
Fuck
And
off.
There
That's
is
crazy.
too much musicianship that went into this album.
there is that, but
Creativity.
I'm happy where it's at.
Okay.
And it's gonna go for me. It's gonna go back to fucking Tupac is below this, guys. Like Tupac should be above this, in my opinion. And as much as I like this, I think this is great. It's
This is
Tupac,
This is actually
fucking Tupac.
This is probably the first rap album that we've seen, with the lone exception of the infamous Mobb Deep, where I could make an argument for this album and the infamous Mobb Deep to be at least in the same. I'm okay with Tupac being below both of those albums, but they got to be way fucking closer together than 100 apart.
I think
You know,
Tupac
And I
should
like.
be.
I'm sorry. I
No,
don't.
you go
mean-
ahead.
I like the idea that Mobb Deep and this album are so close together.
Yeah.
But realistically, I probably want to see both of them moved higher. I want to see both of them above 808s and Heartbreaks. I want to see both of them above probably Late Registration and College Dropout, you know, if I'm picking apart just Kanye. And so, you know, I
get that.
I do want to see it higher.
I get that.
I
For
will
me,
say MF Doom is your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. So
Yeah.
in my opinion, I mean, it could be higher. Like I said, I didn't have enough time to like stew on the lyrics and like actually analyze what all of them are, but I don't know, dude.
Yeah.
I think it should be a little higher.
I think it's great.
Especially because like one of the things I wrote on my final notes is when you listen to a hip hop album, you expect a certain thing, and this goes above and beyond that.
And I
Yeah.
get that, but this is the 500 greatest albums of all time. I think it's plenty high.
I'm glad
I
it
think
made
it's
it on the
maybe
list,
even a little
period.
too high. And I think I'm just going to disagree with you guys on this. And don't get me wrong, I liked it a lot. I added it to digital. I would absolutely fucking buy it on vinyl. I
Me
think it's
too.
great. But for me, Tupac's got to be higher, or at least a lot closer. Like Mike said, this is 100 spots higher than Tupac. I mean, that's
Criminal.
it's definitely
They should
criminal.
be way closer.
I'm with you.
Can
we read Rex?
Let's read Rex, and then we're going to move on into the next album. So here's Rex Todd on Mad Villainy. Just by the intro, I know I'm going to enjoy this album. And my man, MF Doom, and he did do it in all caps. Just so
That's
you know,
right, Rex.
It's
That's my
part-
dude.
is part of this duo. R.I.P. MF Doom. I was right. For once in my life, I was correct about something! Exclamation point. I'll mark this one on the calendar. 22 tracks and 46 minutes long. The tracks are the perfect length, in my opinion. The beats are just insanely sick, lyrically splendiferous,
I love that word.
What a big
questionable word,
Smart man.
and maniacally genius. Clearly, this album was concocted in a lab. A fun listen, and it's genius. We're all it's just a
Yeah.
Mad Villainy circle jerk.
It's
Let's
a
move
circle
on.
jerk.
364 is Talking Heads.
And I came.
More songs about buildings and food. For their second record, Talking Heads found the ideal producer in Brian Eno. Their trilogy of albums with him made the band's reputation. David Byrne splutters over the twitchy rhythms of Artists Only and Thank You for Sending Me an Angel, while crooning The Big Country as a ballad about feeling lost in America. The Heads cover Al Green's Take Me to the River, a Memphis R&B hit, just a year old at the time. Oh, I didn't realize that.
Oh wow, really?
That they make feel like some kind of ancient prayer.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Did
But
anybody
super
realize
common
that?
too.
So-
No.
At the time, people were just fucking incestuously covering each other.
Yeah, we've talked
Man,
about this,
it's
right?
so
It started in
crazy.
the late 60s and clearly all the way through the late 70s. Like if a song came out and another artist was like, God damn, that's a great song. We should play that.
Did you
Especially
guys
the
already
Isley
talk
Brothers.
about? Did you guys already
Especially
cover
the
on this
Isleys.
podcast how Jimi Hendrix covered Sgt. Pepper's like the fucking day after?
Yeah, we
it
did
came
talk
out?
about it. I
Yes.
think I told Mike
Okay,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah. That's insane.
In
But it is
concert,
cool.
too.
It is cool to think
Fucking
though,
wild.
while Paul McCartney was there.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
That's shit that people.
It's a
wouldn't even
baller move
believe.
right there.
No, it's really cool that they cover that song though a year later.
Okay, so this is going to turn into another Talking Head circle jerk.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be very similar to MF Doom because I suspect that we all fucking adored this record. I guess my question to you all is this: how familiar were you with this going into it? Have you already listened to this a bunch of times?
I was familiar with Found a Job. I was familiar with Take Me to the River, obviously. And honestly, that is about it. And I'm a giant Talking Heads fan. I owned several of their records on vinyl. And throughout listening to this week, I was like, why didn't I own this? And I bought it. And it's already here. And we listened to it before we started the podcast.
Hell yeah.
tonight.
I'm gonna guess that JB and I are familiar with this record in the same way for the same reason. I love the Talking Heads, but for the longest time, like I listened to Stop Making Sense, and like I felt like that was just like
the Talking
enough.
Heads. Yeah,
I was like, this is the fucking Talking Heads.
Which I have on vinyl. Do you have that on vinyl?
Those
I don't have it on
Oh,
Those
you need that.
I know.
are those the only two songs off of this album that make it onto?
Thank You for Sending Me an Angel
Stop
is like
Making
the
Sense.
second or third song on Stop Making Sense.
And that's a shorty. So that kind of makes sense. Easy one to
So
throw
I
in.
mean, it's really funny.
And then
for
Take Me to the
like,
River. I think that is the only two on Stop Making Sense.
Take Me to the River. Listening to it.
I don't
studio,
think Found a Job is even on there, is it?
It is.
No.
Yeah, it is.
On
It's
Stop
on the-
Making Sense. It is.
So it's not
It
on
is.
the album. It's not. So the vinyl, the record that they released and the
They
album they
cut
put
two
out,
tracks.
they cut a couple tracks.
It's on the
from
movie,
It's
though.
on the movie.
Yes, it's on
Yeah.
the movie. It's not on the album.
Which if no
See,
one's
I'm more,
seen this
I'm more
movie,
familiar with the movie.
if no one's seen the movie,
You're
fucking
fucking up.
stop watching this right now. Literally turn us off and go.
It's on Amazon Prime.
It's on
No.
Amazon Prime right now.
Stop. It's on YouTube
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
because
What are you doing?
the Pantages Theater, where that movie was filmed over 4 shows, right? And they cut together 4 different shows to make that movie. The Pantages Theater is where they filmed all 4 of those shows, and so the Pantages Theater has its own YouTube channel, and you can watch Stop Making Sense in 1080p
Good.
anytime you want on YouTube.
Do
for free.
it.
Stop making so
everybody.
much sense, Mike. Someone
Listen,
had to make that joke.
Here's the way it works, in my opinion. You got Stop Making Sense, and then you got
The Last Waltz.
The Last Waltz.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
That's where it's
Dude, I
at.
love the last.
I think Stop
Waltz.
Making Sense is probably one of my favorite
But
live albums.
I
of all
will say,
time.
listening to the songs that are on Stop Making Sense on this album is really eye-opening to me, especially like Take Me to the River, because Take Me to the River on this album is like super mellow compared to the version on Stop Making Sense. It's like a fucking
love
party on the Stop
Yeah,
Making
but I
Sense
love the
version.
studio treatment.
I
of
love
it,
this
too.
No,
version
I'm
of
not,
this
I'm
too.
not saying that I don't like it. I'm just saying like it's really funny for me because
You're used to it with a lot more energy.
when I listen to like
be
I
right
said,
back.
my biggest introduction to the Talking Heads is Stop Making Sense. And so like when I hear Take Me to the River or even Found a Job, I hear that in my head. To me, that's the song. And
Yeah.
so like when I listen to the studio version, it's like totally different. But
I get that. But different, but not different in a bad way.
not in a bad
right?
way. No,
Yeah,
not at
just
all.
different.
No, absolutely. And like, I mean, we're both Fish fans. So
Yeah.
like to see if we were to see Take Me to the River just like the studio version, and then you were to go see them at the next show, they played it just like Stop Making Sense, we'd be fucking amped, right?
Yeah,
no,
I get you.
and I have a
get
feeling
you.
I have a feeling that they kind of operated in that way. They seem like
Sure.
a pretty spontaneous band, like let's drive the energy up.
I mean,
or
especially
whatever.
with David Byrne, the way that David Byrne vocalizes, right, relative to the rhythm section of that band, it lends itself to the nuance of his mood at the time.
No, for
right?
sure. But and one thing I was thinking about too is like you'll hear David Byrne sing. He has all of this emotion behind his voice. But when you watch something like Stop Making Sense, he's like a fucking robot.
Yes.
Like he has no facial expression to show his like what he's
Really?
singing.
That's what
he's like He's very like deadpan, you know, like
Okay,
he, like,
so
he
that's
doesn't, like do like the
So that's funny because as soon as I was listening to this record, even after I took notes on this record, I actually put Stop Making Sense on at like while I was at work. I played the video of it so that I could watch the movie at work. And it's funny because I know why you say that, but I think that is so all of these people were art students, right? These were 4 art student kids that got together to make a band. They were playing at CBGB's, so they were influenced by Blondie. They were influenced by the Ramones. Like all of these kids grew up together, and all of these kids were in art school. And that's why I think David Byrne connected with St. Vincent, right? Like those two, I think that those two are so simpatico in the way
agree.
that
She's
they,
artsy, but she wasn't in art school.
no, because she was
She went
always
to
a music
music
kid.
school.
Yeah, she went to music
She
school.
went to the same music school that John Mayer went to.
You got to go to school to learn good.
But I view what David Byrne does, particularly in Stop Making Sense, that's performance art.
Definitely,
Like,
it's
it's
as much
actually-
visual as it is music art.
That's actually
performance
exactly
art.
what I told JB today.
It
We were
is.
talking about it over text, and I told him, I was like, you know, I put Stop Making Sense right there with the last waltz, if
Right.
not above it. He was like, I put it above it personally, and I was like, I agree, but only for these reasons. I mean, dude, you look at the last waltz, fucking amazing live album. I mean, you got
The musicianship.
everybody in their brother
The
is on there.
musicianship on
You got
the
Neil
last waltz.
Diamond, Joni Mitchell,
You got a lot of
Dr.
sinners.
John,
Van
I mean,
Morrison,
you got everybody
Bob Dylan.
is on that
Dylan
album.
is on there with the band.
Everybody,
I know.
But this is a piece of art.
Stop
not this.
Making Sense is
This
a
too.
moving piece of art.
That's
When
right.
you start it, you are starting a journey. You watch David Byrne comes out awkward as fuck with an acoustic guitar and a boombox.
And
With
I love it.
intention, though.
Starts Psycho Killer,
It's
falls
totally,
apart during those weird breaks, and then after that, everything gets added.
It's
And by
totally
the
intentional,
end,
though.
You have
Yeah.
a full band, and
with
that's the
utter
thing, though.
intention.
It's
Yeah.
intent.
And so everything that he's doing, even down to what you described as kind of awkward non-emotion, which again, like if you watch the movie,
I mean that more specifically in his face.
and no, I'm with you, but again, I think that's his art.
I agree. No, I
You
and
know
I
what I
love that
mean?
about it because
It's
you know,
why Picasso put like one eye fucking on the forehead and the other eye on the chin, right? It's his version.
To me, David
of
Byrne
his
has
art.
this like weird sort of artistic style that nobody can really get close to. And
I
like
agree.
part of it is the fact that, like, honestly, he's like on the autism spectrum. And
is he really?
or something. He has some kind of no, I mean
Okay.
I don't
Is
mean
that
that.
a clinical diagnosis, JB?
No, it's like a
Dr.
you can look it up.
Williams.
But it's like
Listen,
there's
I
something
view-
that he like for some reason he like maybe he is seeing things in a slightly different way than the
No,
rest of us.
I agree
view-
with that. I mean,
I view St. Vincent, like having seen her, like I've seen her a couple different times now. I put her on the same plane. And that's why I loved when they did their shows together, because I think she does a lot of those same things. You know, she has a ton of performance art aspects to her music, just like what he was doing with the Talking Heads and solo.
Okay, I just looked it up because I wanted to make sure I wasn't fucking making that up. And yeah, David Byrne is definitely autistic.
Okay.
But like
And that's
and
fair.
I think it lends itself in a whatever
I
fucking
had no idea that he was autistic.
whatever fucking combination of things is going on with him, it is perfect. And like I have
I
like a
agree.
huge crush on David Byrne. More so,
Me
I have
too.
a crush on Tina Weymouth. I'll say that. But
Oh, dude, hey,
but-
don't you play guitar?
I know you're not
she's
allowed
mine,
to,
Bryce.
You're not
She's
allowed
not a
to.
she's
bass player.
mine.
You're not allowed to crush on a bass player.
You
You're not allowed to crush on a bass player. You turd.
It's been announced. I've called her.
So one thing I do want to say about this album is okay, so are either of you guys like so I love indie rock music, and my introduction to indie rock music was a band called Of Montreal. Are either of you guys familiar with
Yeah.
that band?
Yes.
So I
Not
love that
intimately
band.
familiar, but
That was like
familiar.
my introduction to indie rock. And when I listen to some of the bass lines, actually most of the bass lines on all Talking Heads songs, and I look at the date that they were recorded, I can't help but think that like Tina Weymouth is not given enough credit for basically pioneering the bass lines for most indie rock songs. Like when I listen to some of them, like they're not super complex. They're just like, they are perfect.
They're just what
like
they
when
need.
when you listen to her bass lines, it's like I'll listen to some of the best bass players play bass, and I'm like, what could I add? And when you listen to Tina play, it's like I would add nothing.
We're gonna say,
They're
Mike.
perfect.
So okay. I want to take a step back from this because ultimately, to me, the genius in Talking Heads comes from a combination of tight, basic rhythm section
Yes.
with, I mean, let's call it what it is, fucking autistic vocal rhythm additions. And what I mean by that is you have Tina and Jerry Harrison and Chris, Chris Mance? Is that the drummer's name?
I'm not sure.
I think it is Chris Mance.
Tina's husband. Let's put it that way.
So you have like this really traditional solid
It's
rhythm
France.
section. I'm sorry.
Chris
It's
France.
Mance, not France. So you have this really traditional solid rhythm section. And then over the top of it, you have Burns' vocal delivery, which is at best fucking awkward and stunted. But when you put them together
In the best way.
Yeah.
Listen, that's what I'm saying. When you combine those two elements together,
I'm in love with it.
It creates this magic that it fucking works.
Yeah.
Right. And it works in this really weird way. But from the same standpoint, like, I don't necessarily want to overcredit Tina Weymouth because she is a competent member of the rhythm section. Does that make sense? And that's not to take anything away from her chops.
No, it makes sense.
But I mean, literally, we're one album away from talking about Bootsy Collins.
Yeah.
And let's be super honest here. Tina's not fucking Bootsy.
Chops wise, no.
That's great.
Tina's not Bootsy.
but
Tina's
also-
not Marcus Miller, who we're going to hear on Luther Vandross.
That's great.
Chops wise, no.
But also, how much of Bootsy do you hear in indie rock? Like,
yeah, it's just a
none?
different style.
You know, it's like it's a different style. And I just feel like Tina Weymouth was a little bit ahead of the curve when it came to
that specific
indie
style.
rock.
I get that.
That specific style.
And we do have a
Like,
comment from Lee Stamper of onlylee.com.
Let's
He's
hear
weighed
it.
in.
Only Lee.
He said Tina is bae. And then he said, okay,
Yes, she
Mike
is.
made me nervous there. I'm not sure what he's referring to with Mike making him nervous. Maybe he can advise us in a forthcoming comment that we'll receive.
I just feel like, you know, like, I don't know. Bass is such a crazy instrument. I feel like to compare Tina to Bootsy is comparing apples to bananas. I mean, they're not even the same thing. They're not even in the same realm. They don't do the same job.
And and
they're both great.
All I'm saying is this: Talking Heads is magic because of the combination of orthodox with utterly unorthodox.
No, I agree.
Tina being
100%.
Tina
being the orthodox,
Chris France being the orthodox rhythm section, with
'Cause they're
David
banging.
Byrne the utter unorthodox over the top of it.
Absolutely.
And that combination,
it's a magic combination, though.
It
Whatever
is.
they found. And Lee Stamper
It
has
works.
said he thought that you were about to shit on Talking Heads, but then you brought it back
No.
around. But then you brought it back around.
yeah,
He was worried, and then you
Lee,
qualmed
Mike,
it, yeah.
Mike is not that silly. He
Yeah,
loves
no.
the talking.
no, I and this and
I hate
listen,
to be that guy. I got to use the bathroom one more time.
this album is so spectacular.
It's
like
great.
I really do love it. I hate to say this, but if you're only going to listen to one track on this record, and JB and I are getting ready to do a whole lot of that, it has to be "Take Me to the River," which is weird because it's not even an original. It's not a Talking Heads original song, but their take on what Al Green did it's so fucking stupendous.
they
that
did something really special with that cover.
They did.
For me, though, if you're asking that same question,
Yeah. What's the one?
it's going to be because I want you to get I want you to Talking Heads song. You know,
Okay.
so it's either going to be Found a Job, which is absolutely one of my favorites,
I
or
love
it's going
the
to be,
bridge.
or it's going to be The Good Thing on that. Found a Job, like is a song that Mike, like, have you listened to the Found a Job before?
No.
So I think that if you listen to Found a Job like 4 or 5 more times, you would be like, I fucking love Found a Job. Found a Job is the best song on this record, in my opinion. Followed closely by The Good Thing, and then followed closely by Take Me to the River. Like, honestly, and not even just for the sake of omitting Take Me to the River, I think that those two are better. So
Okay, so my hot take on if it's not going to be Take Me to the River, which I think it has to be with this song, and again, it doesn't have to be original to be wonderful. You know what I mean? But I loved Stay Hungry, and I also I fucking loved The Big Country.
oh, I love The
Like,
Big Country
The Big
too.
Country was so fucking good, and
I
it was
gave that
so,
one 4 stars.
It was so uniquely original that, again, like, if you just wanted to say you can't do Take Me to the River, you have to do something else because it has to be a Talking Heads original, I would actually probably make, and we're going to have this argument at some point in time down the road, I'm probably going to argue for The Big Country. If you refuse to allow Take
We're
Me
gonna
to
have
the
this
River,
argument for sure, but
I know.
luckily we can put that off.
yeah, we can.
Lee commented again.
Okay.
He said, "Found a Job greater than videotape."
Oh, for fuck's sake, Lee
That's
Samber.
referencing,
I can't help it if you're a fucking pathetic loser.
That's
Son of a
referencing a
bitch.
Radiohead videotape. We've been having an ongoing argument
you
about
can't-
this song for the last like solid month.
Let's
can't-
not digress.
You can't pick
Let's
on
not.
Lee and only Lee.
God damn it.
Let's-
Can I read Rex?
Go ahead and read Rex.
Yeah, I want to
And
hear
then,
Rex.
and then I think we need to circle back to placement,
Placement, then we'll move on.
because
Quickly.
obviously, like, all of us are going to be owning this on vinyl if we don't already. I still need to add it to vinyl, but
Dude, I need it.
okay. So Rex says, I'm going to be honest, I've never listened to the Talking Heads before this one. Fuck, Rex. Oh my God. So here we
Rex,
go.
I'm not
Great-
going to judge you. I'm just happy for you. I hope
Great.
you had a great time.
Great melodies blend perfectly with the jerky at times singing on this record. I see where Black Francis of the Pixies fame got his vocal influence, and it's most likely
Interesting.
from this album. It's a great album. I'm glad this one is on the list. So Rex, man, go listen to Remain in Light right now. That's going to be a spoiler for you, because Remain in Light is absolutely going to be on this list. It's going to be super high, but if you loved this, which I'm glad that you did, you had
It's
every
not on
right
this
to.
list.
Fuck off.
I'm just kidding.
Listen to Remain in Light, and then listen to Speaking in Tongues,
Speaking in tongues.
and then listen to Little Creatures,
Jesus
and then listen to
Christ.
77.
Yeah.
And you're in for a treat.
Dude,
Yeah, I mean,
77
every
is
single
my
one of those.
favorite Talking Heads.
77
by
has
just-
I don't think 77 is on this list.
77 has Psycho Killer. Don't tell us, Bryce. That's a spoiler.
No,
Yeah, you
I
fucking-
Keep
I'm
your
just
filthy
saying,
mouth shut.
no,
Shut up.
listen,
Shut
there's fucking 500 albums on this list, and I scrolled through it
Remain in Light.
when I was
Remain in
super
Lights.
baked. I don't know.
Remain in Light has to
We
be.
want to remain in darkness as far as what's on
Yeah,
this album.
absolutely.
Yeah, no, I don't
Okay.
remember, but yeah.
So where do you put this? Like, do you like the placement? Do you want to see it higher? Do you want to see it lower? What do you think?
I wrote something about it. Mm,
I'm cool with where it is because
cool with
I'm
where
pretty
it is,
sure
too.
there's a couple more Talking Heads on here. I'm pretty sure that Remain Light certainly is, and I would not be surprised if Speaking in Tongues is. And honestly, I don't know if they have any live albums on here, but if they do, I feel like stop
won't.
making sense. No,
I don't
Okay.
believe they do. I don't.
Okay.
I don't think that actually.
This
I don't
list
think there's
fucking
very.
sucks
This list
for
is
live
fucking
albums.
bullshit.
I don't think there's very many live albums on this list at all. If
I-
there were,
I still stand by.
It would be a
I
better
think. I
list.
think one of the only live albums we're going to get, and technically I think they're calling Sex Machine a live
James
album.
Brown. Yeah.
Yeah, but fuck you. I think the only live album that we're gonna get, in all honesty, is Live at the Fillmore East from the Allman Brothers. And that album might not even fucking be on this list.
I don't know.
and if
Be
it's not,
insane if it
fuck
wasn't.
off. It's terrible.
I will say I definitely believe this album belongs on the list.
Do you want it higher or lower?
Or
or do you like the placement? Because I like the placement.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not upset with the placement.
Okay.
But I do think I can't remember whether or not Brian Eno has a placement on this list.
With
But
his
I know
solo
that there
work, you mean?
are-
I
yeah.
feel like he's
But
not
I
going to
feel
have
like-
any solo stuff
I
on
feel like
here.
there's a lot of times where you're listening to this album where it's like, yes, Eno clearly had something to do with this
Yeah.
album.
I feel like he's not going to have
And
any solo stuff on here,
Eno,
but he's
I
going to
feel
have a
like-
lot of stuff where he was the producer of it.
to me, that's a shame. I love his work as a producer, but I enjoy his solo work. And
I don't even know.
I think it's great that he had something to do with this album. And if you're familiar with his solo work, you would hear it in this album.
You know what? I don't even know that that's that much of a shame, though. I mean, we almost never talk about producers on this album. I mean, we do when it stands out, when it's meaningful. And I'm sure that when Brian Eno comes up more, we'll talk about him when he comes up more. And so let's give him credit, right? Because
it's different when a producer is just a producer.
Well, he
or
played a lot
producer
on
is
this record.
Also a musician. And Brian Eno put out some pretty good albums.
And to be fair, he's credited with almost all the synthesizer work on this album is credited to Brian Eno.
Personnel to him.
No shit.
I feel like Brian Eno's bread and butter in his career has certainly been his production work with other producers and not as much his own solo stuff.
Yeah.
Which is okay. And speaking of that, great. Not to digress too much, because we do need to move on here really quickly. But Brian Eno.
I'm sorry if this is a really long podcast.
No.
Thank you for apologizing, Bryce.
You're very welcome.
Brian Eno did another record with David Byrne.
Yeah.
Kind of recently. And the reason that I remember looking it up was because I was watching the fucking sequel to Wall Street, which is called Wall Street Money Never Sleeps with Shia LaBeouf.
You fucking watched that?
It's
I did watch it. It's not very good, but
Jesus
you know what is good?
dude.
You know what is good is the soundtrack.
Oh, for
And
fuck's sake!
Actually, no, seriously, dude, you need to listen to this.
Hey,
album.
Mike, what's the next album on the list?
Thank you.
Seriously though, it's
We're digressing, everybody, for fucking Wall Street Money Never Sleeps. The
No,
movie
but
that
we're not
even Oliver
digressing.
Stone was like, I'm so glad I made this so that
Give
way
me
we
a
can
break.
have a
Hold on.
soundtrack.
We're listening to. We're not digressing for Wall Street. We're digressing for Everything That Happens Will Happen Today by David Byrne and Brian Eno, released in 2008. So it's a
Shout out.
It's very topical because we
Would you
just did
send
an
that-
album that was Talking Heads and Brian Eno. So you guys should probably go listen to that.
Send that
right
link
now.
to me.
Everything That Happens Will Happen Today.
Yeah.
Or Wall Street Money Never Sleeps.
Fuck, I don't care. Send all
Okay.
that shit to me.
363 from 1975. Parliament's album, The Mothership
Ooh,
Connection.
baby.
Rolling Stone says George Clinton leads his Detroit crew of, quote, extraterrestrial brothers, end quote, through a visionary album of science fiction funk on jams like Super Groovalistic, Prosy Funkstification, and Give Up the Funk, Tear the Roof Off the Sucker. It's a concept album inspired by Star Trek in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Shout out 2001: A Space Odyssey. Big fucking fans of the show. Big fans of the show.
The show is
God
big
damn it.
fans
Parliament.
of that.
Hey,
The
listen,
show is a huge
Parliament,
fan.
Parliament is a really big fan of this show.
Okay. Listen, this show is a big fan of 2001: A Space Odyssey. With Clinton as an outer space radio DJ broadcasting uncut funk from, quote, the chocolate Milky Way, end quote, and telling people of Earth, put a glide in your stride and a dip in your hip and come up on to the mother ship.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
You
Get into
nailed
it.
that
Mike,
shit.
you did good on that. Can you do it again?
No, he
Put
took the
a
heads
glide
off.
in your stride and a dip in your hip and come up on to the mother ship.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Go to the bathroom.
So I will say one of the things I wrote about this album was so imagine you're playing Grand Theft Auto, right? And for whatever reason, your car got abducted by aliens and the whole planet lived on funk and you're listening to their radio station. That's this whole album. Like, this whole album feels like you're a hitchhiker on a UFO listening to the radio. Like, especially like all the commentary. It's like you're on the mothership.
Yeah, but
You
it's
know,
like the UFO, but with a bunch of street talk. So I like how you added the Grand Theft Auto in there.
No,
That's
doesn't
basically
it
what it
feel like
is.
that, though?
It's like
You
Grand
know what
Theft
I'm
Auto
talking
meets
about.
Star Wars.
For real, dude.
You know what I mean?
It's like, but like sometimes you're listening to it and like you could clearly hear like George Clinton is trying to be the DJ. And it's like, the way I look at it is like almost like Guardians of the Galaxy, like when Homeboy's mom died from cancer. Like, imagine
And he
like,
has this whole
a
playlist.
UFO came down. It was Parliament that picked you up. And they're like, check this
Check
shit
this
out.
shit out.
Yeah,
We're Parliament.
exactly.
We're here to party.
And it's like,
We
we're listening
want the
to
funk.
the radio. It's like, we want the funk.
Give
It's
up
like,
that funk.
Oh my god, dude.
That would be so
And
incredible for that movie.
I love so much how like Parliament is like they're really clever. Like we wants to get funked up. It's like at that time you have to realize. I'm pretty sure what was this album?
1975.
75. So it's like this song, you know, like we wants to get funked up, and then you have like blow the roof off the mother,
Which wasn't necessarily
so you have
racy at this time. I mean, it wasn't 10 years prior. If it was
No.
65, it would have been racy, but
No,
75.
But you have to realize though, at 75, even still, to say like, all right, so blow the roof off this mother. What they meant is blow the roof off this motherfucker. And you have to realize at that time,
I think it was
that
fairly
was
acceptable at 75.
no, it was not.
I don't know, man.
Look up, oh God.
Are we arguing over whether or not you could say the word fuck in 1975?
No, so George Carlin had a really big lawsuit against the Supreme Court. And I think it was in the 70s about saying the F word.
Yes.
So
that's
like
actually true.
So saying motherfucker in 1975 might have been super taboo. So like to say, well, for example, Frank Zappa and the Mothers, that was their original name in like 1968.
Before he turned it to Mothers of
1969.
Invention.
Yeah.
So to say the Mothers, everybody knew that the Mothers meant the motherfuckers.
Yeah,
And that was not acceptable, even to just say the Mothers.
really.
So, like, you're talking 10 years in the future. Not that long. A lot has happened for sure. But 10 years in the future to say blow the roof off this mother, they meant the motherfucker. Like,
Yeah, they definitely
kind
did.
of taboo.
But I guess I took it more as like it's just kind of a snapshot of the kind of talk that was going on among the crowd that these guys were in at the time. And what I was reading about it was basically George Clinton that was like, I want to take all my street talk and all my friends and basically put them in outer space. That was like what the concept was,
for sure.
And I love it. I think it's a hilarious concept.
But
It works
love the
so
way that
well.
They work around saying curse words.
Yeah.
Like
No,
I wants to
absolutely.
get funked up. Like,
yeah. No,
we
it's
know what that
listen,
means.
yeah, it's all a play on
it's
words,
so
right?
Awesome.
It's
I love
all a play on words, and basically, like George Clinton was taking drug references and inserting music in exchange for the drugs, and it was all, in my opinion, like it was an effort to bring Black culture to mainstream, right?
Yeah.
And do it in a way with music that was traditionally Black music, but he was trying to make it open to everybody. Like this is fucking beautiful. Right? It doesn't
It
get
is.
any better than
is
this.
Amazing.
I read a
Yeah.
quote from him that pretty much summed it up, which was basically like, I wanted to take James Brown music and put a bunch of street talk over it. And
Hell
that's
yeah.
essentially what it is like, I mean, it's James Brown-esque grooves throughout. Almost every song sounds like it could be a James Brown song, but maybe a little bit more developed because it's 10 years ahead of time. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
I will say on P Funk, I wants to get funked up. One of the notes that I made that I loved was it's so funky, you almost have to laugh. Like you could smell you could smell the stank through your headphones.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like listening to all throughout this album, Bootsy Collins bass lines, like
He's fucking
they
dude,
are
he
just
crushes.
they are so funky.
Yeah.
Like, and the thing I love about it is like if I were to write bass lines like that, I would have to try really, really hard. To
Dude,
make
that
them
was
as
Bootsy, though.
funky as
That's
I
just what
could.
Bootsy made up
But
like
I
on
feel like
accident.
Bootsy heard it. He was like, "This is what I'm gonna do." You know,
And
it's
also
just
the
like,
tone,
that's
the
Bootsy.
tone. I mean, envelope filter. That's like
that was the other thing that I wrote down on my notes somewhere. Who was the first bass player to start using like
an envelope
filters and
filter.
shit?
I don't know.
Was
What's an envelope
Bootsy
filter?
might have been one of the
So that's
first.
that's the effect that
An
Bootsy
envelope
Collins
filter
was
is
using.
basically the most funky effect that you could put on.
Yeah, here I'll kind of describe it. So envelope filter is essentially
it
a wah pedal, but
Okay.
it reacts.
It does it on its own.
It reacts to the strength with which you pluck the string.
Oh,
So-
Jesus. Okay.
So it's also popularized by Jerry Garcia. He used the envelope filter a lot. You know, you've heard it.
Flea.
You probably thought it was
Does
a
it
wah
too.
wah pedal, but it wasn't. It's so wah wah pedal. You control the amount that the frequency sweeps, but therefore the amount that the wah goes wah based on putting your foot down. But on an envelope filter, it's strictly based on the strength
how hard
of the
you're
pluck.
hitting it.
So the harder you pluck, the more it wahs.
So like
Okay.
a baseline on an envelope filter, a clean baseline might be like bum 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 bum. Envelope filter might be like bam 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 bam.
Okay.
Like it,
okay,
like,
I got you.
it adds
Thank
like
you.
this whole extra gusto to it.
It's a dynamic,
It's
right?
like
It's a
almost like
dynamic based on the
synth effect.
force that you're hitting the string with.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a frequency sweep, is what it is.
Dude,
Yeah.
Bootsy, he uses it so
Listen,
well.
so
Tastefully.
P Funk 4 stars, Mothership Connection Star Child 5 stars,
5 for me too. Dude, so far
Unfunky-
we're lined up.
Unfunky UFO
Dude.
4,
I had 3.
Super Groovealistic 3,
I had
Handcuffs 3. I almost put fucking 4 or 5 next to Handcuffs. Give Up the Funk 5, Night of the Thumpasaurus People 3.
Okay,
Dude,
so let me
I
read
think
mine.
I gave every song. I'm sorry to cut you off, JP. I think I gave every
Fuck
song.
you, Bryce.
You know what?
Jesus.
These guys are
You
not
know
in a
what?
band
I'm just kidding.
at all.
The only song that I gave 5 stars on this album is "Give Up the Funk."
What?
Because I think
Are you
that,
kidding me?
well, hold on, because I think everybody knows that song, you know. But other than that, every song got
Really?
4 stars.
Let me read my
mean,
list.
like,
Let me
I
read
mean-
my list. So P Funk, 5 stars. Mothership Connection. Actually, I misquoted earlier. I had 5 on that. I said I had 4 like you. I had 5 on Mothership Connection. Unfunky UFO 3. Super. I'm gonna stop there. 5.
Yeah, I hear you.
Handcuffs 4. Give Up the Funk 5. Night of the Thumpasaurus 3.
Dude, I remember I got to the 3rd track and I was thinking to myself, because I'd already done fucking 3 or 4 cold listens. Like after the first time that I listened to this record, I could not fucking get enough. And I
Yeah.
remember getting to Unfunky UFO and I remember thinking to myself,
It was a lie.
the lowest fucking star that I'm going to put on any song on this record is going to be
Is
4
3
stars.
or
No, I thought 4.
okay.
No,
Now
I don't have any 3
remember,
stars on this album.
the fourth track is the first one that I only give 3 stars to. And Handcuff I fucking wrestled with because the lyrics of Handcuffs, right? Basically about
Dude,
how
Do I
I'm
have
gonna-
they
to
were-
put my hand?
do I
They
have to
were
put your
pretty
handcuffs
sexy.
on your mama? Like I almost did it just because of the lyrical content and like how much fun it was. But like I wanted to be more critical and not just say, oh, well, I fucking love this record so much that just everything is that amazing. Right?
Yeah.
Like I wanted to create some
That's-
critique for
That's
myself.
the exact reason I didn't give everything 5 stars.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
hear you.
like,
Thank you. Because
I-
that's
I
where I,
love
was
Parliament,
at too. That's where I
and,
was
like-
at, Bryce.
like when I came to this project, I was like, all right, like I picked this week for a reason.
Yeah.
I knew Parliament was on it. I knew the Mad Villain record was on here. I knew the Talking Heads record. was
It's
on
very
here.
shrewd of you.
Those were the 3 records. Like I was like, that's why I want to be on this week. But I did not want to be like, well, I love them, so I'm gonna give every track 5 stars. Like
I think you could though.
no, I could.
No one
but-
would fault you for that.
No.
I didn't want to. I wanted to be as honest as I could.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
And so
Um,
like that's why almost every song on this album got 4 stars from me. But
Did
I did really feel like I jumped into a spaceship.
So let's do this because we've circle jerked the fuck.
That's what I
out
was
of
literally about to say.
everything
I was like,
else so
before we
much.
just circle jerk on this, let's point out songs that stuck out to us.
And that's what I
Yep.
was gonna say. So we've done this in the past and we haven't done this in a long time. Although we're gonna start creating bonus episodes solely around this. So each one of us round robin, and you and I will go first, and
Top
then Bryce
songs.
will hit us up. Yeah, if you can only tell somebody to listen to one song,
Oh fuck, man.
what's the one song that you're gonna tell the audience to listen to on this record?
This is a really hard one.
It's fucking brutal on this record.
For me, it's between 2.
Okay.
The one that I probably liked the best was Mothership Connection. I loved the whole "Let Me Ride" section that was on that.
It's straight out of Dr. Dre, by the way.
Well,
If you enjoy
Dr.
the
Dre,
song
stay out
Let
of
Me
this.
Ride
yeah,
from Dr. Dre,
it's literally the same thing.
it's literally lifted from this fucking song. The whole thing.
And then the
is.
other one is like the one that was certainly the most well-known tune, which is "Give Up the Funk." I mean, it's a fantastic song.
Okay, so
it's
which
gonna
one?
be between, for me,
Pick one, fucker.
Mothership Connection.
I like where your brain's at.
Let's see. Where are my notes at?
I'm gonna do the same.
Yeah.
Only because, like, fuck, dude, like that. And you know what's funny is like Dre lifted the very last time that they went to the Cherry Stop, right? Because and George plays like this weird clav line, but he only plays it that one time. And it's the very last time that they loop around to the
And that's in the
swing
Dre
on
sample.
down to the Cherry Stop and let
me
me ride.
ride.
But that woo woo woo, like that only appears on the very last time on this song. But
And
the
that's
rest
in the
of
Dre song?
yeah.
Okay.
But realize that everybody that hasn't heard this, that's like a small segment of this song that they revisit. I think they revisit it 3 times, swing on down to the Cherry Stop. And by the way, when they're not into that little like bridge, if you'll call it, of this song, it's a fucking totally different song that is a funk masterpiece.
It's in a drastically different key. It's in a major key.
Every
Yeah.
part of it. Like it's so weird when
It sounds nothing like it.
when they drop into the Cherry Stop, you're like, whoa, what has happened
Bryce,
here?
pick a song.
One song. The audience can only listen to one song.
One
What
song
do you
off
tell
this
them to
record.
listen to?
If I had to pick one song,
Get up on the mic. Get up on the mic.
Yeah, get closer to the mic there, Bryce.
give up the funk.
Get closer to the mic.
Give up the funk.
Okay.
I mean, who doesn't know that fucking song?
No, I know.
You know,
And
it's like
we argued that.
Here's the thing, though. Like when you hear that song, whether
Holy
you're
shit.
whether you're a P Funk fan or not, when you hear that song, you are like, let's fucking party.
I
Like,
hear
you.
I mean, that's
And it's just
that's
such a well-known
That's
tune.
the vibe.
I hear
It's
you.
such a well-known tune. I'm gonna read Rex's thoughts on that, but before that, I'm gonna read Lee Stamper. Hot fucking take.
Hot take.
You
All
guys
right.
are not gonna like this at all. Okay.
Wait, stop. Don't read his fucking comment. If he's shitting on this record,
He's not shitting on this record. He's
Okay.
shitting on funk in general. So
then
Holy
don't
shit.
fucking
Hold
read
on,
it.
wait a
Don't
minute.
read
I
it.
gotta read this comment. I
Hey,
gotta read
wait
it.
a minute. No,
This is
hold on.
terrible.
Hold on, guys.
You
Fuck
should
you,
have
Lee
to
Stamper.
pay to suffer for
Jesus.
this comment.
So
Lee Stamper.
Lee Stamper
If you
says
don't like funk, you get. I don't know.
Let him read it.
Lee Stamper says funk is better as an element of rock than as a dedicated genre.
Fuck off. Okay.
What the fuck
Let's
does
move
that
on to
even
Rex.
mean?
Stop. Let's move on to Rex.
Let's
Yeah.
move on.
All right,
Yeah.
There's no reason to even think about what that inane fucking fool
Lee.
has dropped on us. Jesus Christ.
Okay. Luther Van. No, that's
It's
not
like-
what we're doing.
That's like saying
You're making me
lemon
drink
is
more
sour,
whiskey,
but I
Lee
wish it
Stamper.
was sweet.
Yeah. Mothership Connection, Parliament by Rex's. Here's his write up. Oh, yes, Parliament. Only when I want my funk uncut. When I want the bomb, I want the P Funk. They
Yeah.
make the funk fresh for you in this oven baked classic. I only discovered Parliament from a little known movie called PCU. If you haven't seen it, find it. Seriously. Google the movie right now. There's an incredible cast list, and you'll be pissed that you've never heard of this movie.
I'm surprised you didn't learn from it from Good Burger.
Parliament Funkadelics does a concert in the film introduced by John Favreau. Interesting. The band
Whoa.
probably contains the same amount of people equivalent to that of a small town. Every single one of the instruments meld extremely well into one another. Just a beautiful funkalicious album. There's a whole lot of rhythm going around on this one. Don't forget, when they want the funk, give up the
We
funk.
want-
Oh,
funk.
fuck yeah.
Give up the phone.
So far, we are in total agreement with Rex
Thank
Todd.
you, Rex Todd.
Here's what I want to see.
Lee Stamper.
And I will put the money down to see it. Rex versus Lee. Arm wrestling tournament.
Oh,
All my
God
money's
damn
on
it.
Arm wrestling tournament, or I want to see them wet t-shirt wrestle
Wet
in
t-shirt.
a
Wet t-shirt
in
wrestle.
a
for
kiddie
sure.
pool full of chocolate pudding.
A wet t-shirt wrestle in
Jesus
a kiddie pool
Christ.
full of chocolate
362.
pudding.
For
I'm
fuck's
down.
sake.
362.
Fucking Lee Stamper, dude.
All my money's on Rex.
Jesus. Lee Stamper's
Especially
crushing my
after this
balls this
review.
week.
Luther Vandross, never too much. 362.
Actually, it's way too much.
In the in the 70s, Luther Vandross sang backup for Sister Sledge and Roberta Flack. We like both of those guys.
Shout out, Roberta.
We
Flack.
do. We like those guys.
And co-wrote David Bowie's Fascination. We like David Bowie too.
I do.
I don't like David Bowie. I love David Bowie.
I was going to say,
Aw.
Jesus Christ, Bryce, get the
That's-
fuck out of here.
It's cute.
As a solo artist, he embodied sophisticated soul. LP shows off a dazzling range that came almost too easily. From the title track, one of the defining dance funk hits of the 80s, to his stunning rendition of the Burt Bacharach and Hal David classic, A House Is Not a Home, which made the song uncoverable for future generations of singers. Bryce has only written 1 page of notes on Luther Vandross, which is a huge slight to Luther Vandross.
Hold on. Maybe I was exaggerating a little bit. I might have 2.5.
Under exaggerating.
Okay.
Here's my thing.
Okay, go for it.
So I listened. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, go.
So I listened to this record, and the title is Never Too Much, and I have to beg to differ. My thing is, like when I first listened to this record, it's pretty funky, and I like it, and Luther's kind of like talking about this chick that he loves and all that stuff. And I'm like, all right, cool. I can dig this. Like, this is like sexy love music, like sexy funk. I get it. But then he gets to a point where he, I wish I was faster at reading on my notes. He gets to a point where he starts talking about where he's not so loyal to his chick. And at the very beginning, you feel like you're like, oh wow, this dude must really love his chick. And then he gets to a point where you're like, oh dude, this guy doesn't really love his chick. And then he gets to a point where he's like, why did she leave me? And it's like, dude, you literally wrote a song.
You
about
said how you were fucking
multiple
other
chicks
girls
in a night. And it's like,
hold on. Lee Stamper says
nuts.
R.I.P. Rex. I had to put that out there.
But it's
I'm laughing at Lee's comments. I want you guys to laugh at Lee's comments too.
No,
Mike's
funny.
tired of Lee's comments.
But I mean, like,
Can't believe
you
you fucking
listen,
said that
like
about
when I
P-Funk,
first
dude.
started this album, I was pretty optimistic because I was like, all right, I love funk music. I love the bass lines.
This is
I'm
not
digging
funk, by
how
the
he's
way.
like, let's talk about loving each other. I'm like, all right, cool. This might be a great album.
It's not funk, Mike, but
And
there
then-
is a lot of funk to this.
No, yeah, it's funky.
It's soul.
It's not.
It's
funk.
like jazzy R&B with some
agree.
soul elements, but
Okay, wait, time out. Like, let's fucking dissect
The
all
bass
the
lines-
words that you just threw out right there.
and I knew
You're
there were a
like,
lot.
you're like, this is not a funk record. This is not anything. This is jazzy R&B soul.
I wouldn't say jazzy.
Do you disagree with that?
Listen, this is what I'm gonna say.
I would say
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I want to hear
Um,
what you got to say.
Marcus Miller is the bass player on this record. Marcus Miller is a fucking champion, dude.
A legend.
He is unimpeachable with every single part. Like, to me, this record appearing at 362, which, by the way, I think that Parliament is probably too low. Like, I would like to see Parliament moved up 50 spots.
Mm-hmm.
I
Right?
agree,
Like-
but you have to consider that Maggot Brain is also on this list.
That's not a Parliament
Stop.
record.
Stop. God
I'm not
damn
going
it.
to tell you. I'm not going to tell you where.
Okay, I'm
I'm
happy.
not spoiling it,
I'm
but
happy that Funkadelic has Maggot Brain on this list.
I'm not
and-
telling you where.
And Funkadelic has another record coming up like next week, basically.
Literally next week.
I
but-
know. I was hoping it was this week too.
But with this Luther Vandross record, Marcus Miller is a champ. His bass playing is unimpeachable. It's so fantastic. Insofar as I can tell, that's the only reason why this fucking record is even on this list.
Yes.
Not to take anything away from Luther Vandross, like his voice is fine,
take it all away from him.
But-
Like,
fuck off. Like, this record
Dude.
is fucking hot shit.
Yes.
There's nothing special about this fucking record to me.
All
It
right.
came out in 1981. Spoiler alert, there were other black men making pop music.
all right.
One of them was named Michael fucking Jackson, who did it infinitely better than
Way
Luther
better.
Vandross. And I know that we're going to see Thriller, which
Maybe-
came out.
entirely
maybe
different.
more children were harmed in the
This is-
making
this
of,
is, like I said, this
his
is-
album. than
This is an
one.
R&B. What I said before was I said this is jazzy R&B with elements of soul. That's exactly what I said.
That doesn't make it great.
I'm not saying it does, but I stand by that. And I think there's a lot of funk to this, but Michael Jackson's a pop star. That's pop music. It's entirely
That's
different.
what this is.
This is R&B.
No, they're
No.
different. This is
R&B
not
has
pop
always
music.
been a bit of an offshoot from pop.
This album.
And this is an excerpt of R&B from the 80s.
The bass player disagrees
I
with
love you, JB.
Because the bass
but
player is a
this-
funk bass player.
This album is
Right?
different than that.
No,
This
it's not.
album is different than that.
It's not about the label
Because this album was not destined to be a pop album. Like this album
No,
was
Bryce, you
clearly
you
destined
didn't
to be
hear
like
me
an
right.
R&B album.
I was differentiating this from pop.
Yeah,
I was
JB
saying this was not
You
pop.
guys are saying the
Oh.
same thing.
Okay.
You guys are saying the same thing. What I'm saying though is that this was a pop. This was top 40.
So we both disagree with you.
Yeah, you guys both disagree with me.
Well,
what I'm
okay.
saying is that this was top 40. It was made accessible from the exquisite bass playing of Marcus Miller. And that's what made it accessible.
And you don't think the
as-
bass playing's funky? You don't think it brings elements of funk to it?
Yeah, it's a little bit
of
funky.
Of course he does,
but
but you
they're-
have to realize, JB, we don't have the privilege that you have. As bass players, we're not like thought of as like first in command.
Sorry, you guys take this. I'll sit
Like
back.
we're really just not. Like when it
Should
comes
not
to
allow
like
us to
fucking
take
spoke.
this.
what is a popular album? Can you name one popular album where like the bass is the front and center of it?
I don't know. I've never listened to the bass. so.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Dude,
Because you're a
here's the
guitar
thing.
player.
I don't want to
Yeah.
say that Luther Vandross is not fucking talented,
I agree.
right? This
agree.
record is fine.
It's not my cup of tea.
But for fuck's sake, like you're talking about some dog shit 80s radio crap from 1981 where sure he's got it, like his voice is fine. His voice is fucking fine. But
It's
for the
okay.
fucking love of God, like we're talking about the greatest 500 albums of all time. And
Right?
if you want to throw this in at 389 because you want to throw Luther Vandross a fucking bone because the guy's dead.
But
All
hey,
right.
don't worry. 10,000 Days doesn't belong on this list.
No, not even that. How about Anima?
Yeah.
Really?
Actually, I think it's pronounced
Like, what the
Anima.
fuck did this album influence?
Right?
And you don't have a like, I don't.
Well, let me speak for a minute here.
Okay.
I don't know what made you guys think I was like on the other side of this coin from you guys.
No, I don't think that at all, by the way.
because I don't hate this record as much as you guys do.
JP,
but
I will
I-
fight you to the death.
All right, we'll fight to the death after this. But I don't think this. I don't think this should be on the list. I'm on the same
Dude,
side of the coin as you guys. I don't know why this turned into like a videotape situation.
I totally agree. I mean, like, here's the deal. If it belongs on the list, the only reason it belongs on the list is because of Marcus Miller. Like,
Well, also,
which I actually, I didn't know was the bass player until Mike told me so.
I also
mean,
really
like,
think
because
I think that Luther Vandross has a really good voice, and I think that I'm not
it's okay.
terribly upset with it being on here. If I was making a list, this is not going to be on my list. Okay,
he's got an okay
But he's
voice,
got a-
but is it top 500 voice?
I think he's got a really good voice. I think he's got a really good
top
voice.
500 voice. No, I don't think
the art is top 500, but his voice certainly stands up with
My
some
voice
other
is
singers
better.
that are on this top 500 list for sure.
Here's
but I
my
don't think
beef.
the art overall.
I'm going to give you what I thought about. I thought about this, right? If you want to call this R&B or soul,
Mike could sing better.
we would also no. I cannot. I definitely cannot. He's really talented.
No, he no.
But there wasn't
Luther's
that-
really talented.
There wasn't that long ago that we listened to another R&B/soul singer, and it wasn't a he, granted, it was a she, and it was Mariah Carey, The Emancipation of Mimi. Like,
It's funny that you mentioned that.
in all honesty, The Emancipation of Mimi, if you're gonna look at this as a genre of music and say we need to recognize really, really good work that's done within this genre of music, how the fuck is that record not more impressive than this one? Right?
It's funny that you mentioned that because Luther Vandross has collaborated with Mariah Carey.
I'm sure that he has.
Yeah.
Listen,
but again,
I don't,
like,
I don't
I'm-
want this to be like a Mike fucking hates Luther Vandross.
This is not going to be that. Nobody thinks that. But what is clear is that you don't think it should be on the list.
fuck
And
no.
what I want to make clear as well is that I'm kind of right there with you. I think I liked it more than you guys did for sure. Like,
Did you put any stars next to any?
Yes,
song?
I put stars against a couple of them.
Okay.
I put 2 stars on the song "I've Been Working." I thought it was a really good bass line. I know that's going to be going right up the alley with what you're saying.
Yeah.
The rest of it, though, it was almost like a Steely Dan-esque kind of funk jazz groove to it. A great synth solo in the middle of that, and the vocals were good. Like he has a really good voice. Anyone saying that he doesn't is just crazy. Like, it's not Michael Jackson, but it's not. But he has a great voice,
and that's. I mean, I guess that's my point, right?
But I do think it's a different field. It's not the same exact thing. Did Michael Jackson dip into this territory? But this is all one territory, and it's all R&B with soul. It's pretty funky.
It'll be really interesting when we talk about the next record.
Well, what thing I'll say about this album is
get closer to your microphone.
Oh, sorry. One thing I will say about this album, I was not a huge fan of this album. I didn't hate this album. Hate is a huge word. I did not hate it, but I will say, like, one of my favorite parts about this experience is, even though I did not like this album, I can find things that I like in songs, even though I might not like the whole song.
You're gonna find pieces that you like.
Yeah, the song could be 3 minutes long, and maybe I like 10 seconds of it. This album really made me realize that, and like, Marcus Miller, of course, is the
smashes,
man.
dude.
Yeah, he's the
star.
man.
He's the star of this record.
And like,
For
when
me.
I listened to this record, I texted JB and I was like, I liked all of them, but one album.
You guys were both texting me about that on the same day.
He was like, "What, the Black Parade?" And I was like, "No, the Luther."
I was hoping it wasn't going to be the Black Parade.
like,
because I fucking listened to this and I was like, "Oh, Bryce is going to love this because of the bass lines." And then when you said there was one album you didn't like, I was like, "Fucking tell me it wasn't the Black Parade."
Yeah, no. I mean, here's the deal. I mean, if this album was only instrumental, it would be way high up on my list.
Yeah. The band was super tight.
Dude,
super good band. Not only the bass player, the rest of the band is really good.
The whole fucking band. The whole band.
And
the whole entire band. When I listened to this album, I was like, this whole fucking band is tight. As a matter of fact, I would put this album way higher up if there was no fucking singer.
Well, time out. Listen, Luther Vandross is not untalented.
No,
I'm
not at all.
This is not an indictment on his talent.
I agree.
Right? It is an indictment on, we're talking about the greatest
500 albums
of all time.
If it was the greatest 3,000 albums of all time, we'd probably be on board.
The greatest 1,000.
But the fact is,
I could give it 1,000.
The fact is that 500 we're not, right?
No.
My thing is, if you eliminated all of the lyrics from this album,
then you think the music,
the lyrics are fucking hot.
You would
shit,
be like,
dude.
holy shit! All of the instrumental from this album is great.
I mean, even
it might belong. Maybe it doesn't belong this high up.
You talked about
it would belong on the list.
You talked about I've Been Working, right? I literally wrote, lyrics are goofy and reek of the 80s.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. No doubt about it. Because it's from the 80s.
But dude, we've listened to so much other stuff from the 80s. Like Rush, Moving Pictures is from the 80s.
Late 80s.
And we didn't know.
Was it 80?
What the fuck are you talking about?
Was it not 87? For some reason, I thought it was 87.
My thing is, like, every now and then you have a song that's really great. And it doesn't require lyrics. Like,
wait for it.
You'll have a song that's
81.
So good.
Fuck, I knew it was 81. Why don't you read Rex's thoughts and then you read about the next album? Because let's move on. None of us think this belongs on the list.
I know.
Let's move on. Let's do the last one. I'll be right back.
All right. Rexy baby. And I hate to say this, like, I'm going to say it extra loud so that way you can hear this, JB. So Rex says, "Oh, Luther, with your silky smooth, panty melting voice,
Panty melting.
you had been raising the humidity for decades. Since his passing, we've seen a significant rise in droughts. It's not global climate change. It's because Luther died. There are certain tracks that just emanate 1980s R&B. Most are fun and lively tracks. He had such an impressive tone and such strength with his voice. Such an impressive and talented singer. This is a great album. It really is." Rex, I love you like a brother, and I don't disagree with what you're saying in terms of the quality of his voice, but the substance to me is what just fucking, it's ball crushing how terrible
I'll agree.
the lyrics are.
But here's the deal. All right. So, like, you got to take a person, like if Rex listens to this album and he has a good time, I can't discredit that. I mean, like, I don't know, man. Like, you and I, like, we're musicians, and so is JB. So, like, we listen to an album like this, and it's super cheesy to us.
Yeah.
But I can't deny if somebody like Rex listens to this album and
loves
time.
it.
Like,
Yeah.
well, and that's
the beauty of music.
That doesn't have anything to do with the fact that I play or JB or you plays. I mean, that's just our opinion, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it really, at the end of the day, like, I was not a big fan of this album. Actually, as a matter of fact, my note was never too much. My first note was I beg to differ. There was way too much. Because you know what my number one problem with this album was? My number one problem with this album was the beginnings of all of the songs were great. At the very beginning of the song, I was hooked. I was ready to go. I was like, all right, let's hear it. It's going to be funky. It's going to be great. But almost every single song, the last 2 minutes were the hook. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It didn't evolve past that point. It was like almost like if the song was never too much, it's like never too much, never too much, never too much. And like it never evolved past that.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
didn't get better than that.
Hang on.
And that's what fucked me up on this album. And like to the point where like even Luther started scatting. And it's like, dude, it's like you're not even saying words. Like you just want to hear your voice.
Listen, let's move on. But I want to,
agree.
for this next one, I want to fuck up the order a little bit on this, and you'll understand why. Okay, so we're gonna move on to my morning jacket.
If only.
I'm sorry, yeah, that doesn't even appear on this list. Fuck off.
If only.
It'd be better. It'd be better than the fucking last.
You gonna read
album
Rex
we
first?
just listened to.
Yes.
Do
So
it.
I'll read Rolling Stone, and then I'm immediately going to read Rex before we get into our discussion about number 361,
Dude, Rex is the real deal.
which is from
Oh, I'm reading
Dude.
Rex's email and it's harsh.
2006.
already.
The last album that we're going to talk about tonight, and we'll try and keep it short because this has been a really long
The Black
podcast.
Parade.
But Bryce has been wonderful, and this has been a lot of fun, especially with Lee Stamper watching
Sorry, it
live.
was
So,
spoiling.
from 2006, we're going to next talk about My Chemical Romance's album, The Black Parade. Rolling Stone says, just as The Who did with Tommy or Pink Floyd with The
Holy
Wall.
Shit, they
New-
compared the Who to fucking My Chemical Romance.
New Jersey act My Chemical Romance served up an era-defining rock opera tailored for the golden age of emo. Frontman Gerard Way, the goth millennial answer to David Bowie, stars as a cancer patient who marches boldly into the afterlife. The Black Parade, where Liza Minnelli of all people awaits him for a smashing horror punk duet with the song Mama.
Holy shit, was that actually Liza Minnelli?
Yes,
I didn't
and
realize
she
that.
is credited in that song.
Okay,
so
you go
That's
read.
awesome.
You go read Rex.
before we go on any further,
Yeah,
I do want to read Rex's comments.
By the
So,
way, I'm sorry I laughed during that. I mean, it's not to discredit this album, but holy fucking shit.
okay, just hold on to those thoughts. Okay, so Rex says, okay, this one is infuriating. I'm just going to let loose, and I don't give a shit what anyone says about my rant.
Fuck yeah, Rex.
I want you to get ready to read Lee Stamper's comments.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh man.
I don't give a shit what anyone says about my rant. Buckle up. No, just fucking no, you piece of shit motherfucking hipsters. This goddamn album should not be this far ahead of Tupac, Eric Church, Big Brother, and the Holding Company.
Fuck Eric Church.
I hope you fuckers get anally raped by the tusks of a walrus.
Jesus.
Your choice is bullshit, much like your apparel choices have been. Apparel choices have been in the past. Questionable.
Oh my God.
Fuck you, Rolling Stone. Get diddled by your uncle again. Rant over.
I get what he's saying by apparel choices. I'm gonna read
Okay,
Lee
so
Stamper.
now we're instantly going to cut to Lee Stamper.
For this juxtaposition, we have Lee Stamper of onlylee.com for those who are unaware. Lee Stamper. Maybe my hormones were just in the right place when this album came out, but this is an all-time album for me. I've listened to it hundreds of times. I know every word and note of it by heart.
Fuck yeah, Lee.
I'll start by saying this band was a victim of their own image. Their stupid makeup and the emo scene made them a joke to most people, but they are extremely talented musicians and songwriters.
Yes.
When this album came out, I remember reading the Rolling Stone cover story about how this was MCR doing their best Queen impression. But to that, I said Queen fucking wishes they ever made an album this good. What the fuck, Lee Stamper?
On, Lee.
I was with you right until then, you fucking motherfucker.
We call it Only Lee for a reason. You're the only one that feels that way, dude.
You're the only one that ever had that thought in the fucking history of planet Earth.
Lee, I like you. I've never met you, but you're the only one that
Lee, I got to say, buddy, I was with you until that point in your
me
message.
too, man. You were
Let me go ahead and finish. Let me go ahead and finish Lee's thoughts, though. This is a top 150 for me, and that's hedging to not sound too insane. I'm glad you hedged, Lee. That was necessary there. And it's not even the best MCR album. I've tried getting Mike to listen to MCR. You know, going back to that comment, dude, it's not even the best MCR. Hold on. It's not even the best MCR album. I'm curious what your other one is, because the one that I got really into, Lee, was 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, which was the record that came before this. Anyways, to finish, I've tried getting Mike to listen to MCR many times to no avail. Probably because you were saying shit like it was better than Queen, Lee. I'm glad this forced his hand. It's a masterpiece, and my message to you is a paraphrased quote from the album. If you don't have much nice to say, I think I never liked you anyway. So, Mike, you probably heard, you probably read the email, but like I was totally with everything that Lee said until he said MCR is doing their best in Queen impression, but to say to that, I say that Queen fucking wishes they ever made an album this good.
Here's the deal. I hate to speak for Mike. I want to speak for myself. I know that these guys don't want to be Queen, and they're not trying to do
they're not
Queen
trying
impression.
to be Queen.
So to say that about them it's not right.
It's unfair.
I mean, like, they're not trying to do that.
Bryce, thank you so much.
That's not their goal. I mean, here's the deal. When I listened to this album, I expected to hate it because
I did too.
I grew up, like at this time, like teenagers. Dude, I was 16.
How old I was
you're gonna 16 when that song came out.
You're 28 right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay.
I was 16 when that song came out. That song
Welcome to the Black
is
Parade.
my fucking anthem, right?
Yeah,
So like when I listened to this album, it just brought back a whole bunch of memories, like, but at the same time, you have to understand, I'm pretty versed in music. I cannot even compare this shit to Queen. Like, you would have to be high as balls to compare this to Queen.
Yeah, I'm not against you there,
not
Bryce.
Not even close to Queen. Not even close.
And
it's
this,
great.
For me, this record came out like
I
was obsessed with the one that came before this, which was probably when I was 12 years old. And just to confirm, Lee Stamper commented and said 3 Cheers. That's the one he's talking about. That's what I'm talking about. 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge came before this. I do want to read a couple comments from users that came before this, though. So Lee says, "Fucking fight me, Rex. I'll fly to Iowa." Okay. And then
hold on, wait a minute. What are the bet margins?
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
I'll put money on Rex. He seems pretty strong.
And then this is another funny comment. Chuck Scott, he's a student of mine. He's a great guy. He commented on it. He said, You guys need to get a pee jug to pass under the table.
Yeah, I'm all down for that, especially for me, man.
Thank
So
you,
sorry,
Chuck.
Our bladders,
How do you know we don't
bladders
have
are
one
weak.
already?
Unlike this show, our bladders are weak. Okay,
Would somebody
A couple
give
of-
me a little bit of this?
a couple of comments. First and foremost, Queen never produced a concept album, right? And I mean, I'm not crazy on that. Like, Queen never produced a concept album. What I think My Chemical Romance was doing, I mean, listen, what they were doing
Would you
here
consider
was,
this a concept album?
yes. Yeah,
Oh, it's
absolutely.
certainly, yeah, it's definitely a concept album.
So if you view, and that's really what changed me on this album in particular is, and Lee Stamper's right. Lee tried to get me to listen to AFI. He tried to get me to listen to My Chemical Romance. And I mean, listen, I'm a lot older than you guys, right?
No, that's true. But
I am. I'm
you and I-
fucking 15 years older than you guys.
Hold on. You and I have one thing in common. We're
Yeah.
both parents. So
Yeah, that's true.
Or
I
your
will
bass
tell
players.
you, our
And bass
oldest just turned 13. And not only that, but when Teenagers came out, this song on this album, I was 16 years old.
Okay,
So as a parent of a teenager, when you heard Teenagers, how much did you cringe when you heard teenagers scare the living shit out of me? Because my 13-year-old scares the living shit out of
okay, so
me.
all right, so my oldest is getting ready to turn 25, and I have a son that just turned 24.
Mike, did you
And hang
sell
on.
your soul to the devil?
No, but get a load of this. So my 24-year-old Mikey was super excited for me to listen to this record because he knew that I didn't have a lot of exposure to it. And he and his friend, his best friend in high school, a super talented tattoo artist, by the way, named Ryan. Like, Ryan and Mikey used to apparently sit around in each other's bedrooms and like scream this song out loud. Like,
That's
this was
awesome.
this was an
Teenagers
anthem.
scare the living
Yes.
shit out of me.
Like,
Fuck
this,
yeah, man.
This was an anthem for them.
Dude, hell yeah.
And he told me that going into it. And so when I listened to it, I thought to myself, fuck, like, I get why he latched onto this song.
That's
like,
awesome.
I totally understand why when he was at that age listening to the song, it was perfect for him. And I would have been in the exact same boat. At the same time, you know, when this music came out, I was fucking nowhere near that boat, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I was nowhere near it. And so for me, the connection with this record really comes from the standpoint of it's a concept album about a young person dying of cancer. And if you think
I hear
about
that
the
big time.
lyrical content of all of these songs being from the viewpoint of somebody that has cancer and is getting ready to die or is contemplating the idea of death, when you couple that with the fact that, like, we have a super, super dear relative to our entire family who was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer last August, and she stopped taking chemo a month ago, and she's getting ready to die. I mean, that's just, it's fucking real. And so,
Yeah.
like, going through that right now relative to listening to this song, listening to all of these songs,
Dude.
it's not the same perspective, right? Because these songs are written from the perspective of a young person that's facing death. But listen, death's the bitch, right?
It's gonna make you feel things. Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Death is like,
Doesn't matter what
Death is
what
a
age you are.
bitch.
it's the final destination for all of us.
It is.
And no matter
I-
where you're at your stage in life, like, when you think about some of these lyrics, whether it's Welcome to the Black Parade, whether it's Teenager to a certain extent, Mama was huge for me. The fucking song Cancer, Jesus Christ, dude.
Hey,
like,
listen.
there's so much to unpack here, and especially relative to what I'm experiencing right now with my family, with my life, it at least opened a doorway that was
do you have
it
somebody
wasn't there for me before.
Do you have somebody currently experiencing cancer in your life right
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah.
My wife's aunt, who is it's normally I think most people would think of like aunts as like somewhat distant relatives, but this
No.
woman was
Fuck that. No.
this woman
They're
was actually
family.
like no, this woman was like
This is
a mother to
more than your
my
average
wife,
aunt,
and
yeah.
They're
she's
family.
she's like I mean she's literally one of the most important people in our extended family, and,
What-
and she's getting ready to die.
Yeah.
Like it's hard.
What cancer is she going through?
She has pancreatic cancer.
So
She's going to die.
my grandma recently went through cancer, and she had stage 4. I can't remember what cancer she had. But she had a what is it called when you get like all your lady parts removed?
A hysterectomy.
Yeah, she had to get a full hysterectomy. Like, God, it was crazy, like, and that all happened in the same year as the pandemic. And the year before the pandemic, her husband, my grandpa, died. And it was really fucking hard on me, man. And to listen, what song is it by MCR that talked about cancer?
Fucking all of them.
No, the big one though.
Well, there is one that's called Cancer.
Yeah, cancer.
Yeah.
Like when I listened to that song, like I remember, like I don't have the time to like read through all of my notes I got here, but I remember I was like, man, I did not expect to cry during this album, like, and I cried
Cancer,
because like, the year after my grandpa passed away, my grandma got like stage 4 fucking cancer. Like she beat it, thankfully, but it's like,
yeah, she's
that's
good
awesome.
now. She's good now.
Like,
that is great. That is great news. We should celebrate that.
She's good now, but it's
fucking
like,
A, dude.
it's like, goddamn, like you don't get a break. And I just love how what's his name? Gerard Way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I love how, dude, he is a musician's musician. Like he the way he writes his lyrics, like is he responsible for like arranging a lot of the songs?
Yeah.
Is he
I
really?
feel like he is.
Well, he's wrote most of them.
Wow.
So like
I don't know if he had
when
much
I
to do with the
listen to these
orchestral
songs,
arrangements, of which
like,
there were a little bit. But
maybe I'm wrong, but like when I listen to these songs, I give him a lot of the credit.
Yeah.
Like I feel like, God, man, like you listen to a lot of the songs in that era that are like emo songs or whatever, but like he put so much intention behind those songs.
Yeah.
Like Gerard's the man.
yeah, he was the man. And I gotta say, like I was thinking about both of you a lot when I was listening to this, because there's no way that you guys were gonna go through this record and not think of both of their respective situations that your families have going on right now. So, my thoughts were with both you guys in a good way, for better or for worse throughout this. But so yeah, I know you're going through a whole lot, Mike, and just know that we're here for you, as we always are on This List Sucks. We're a family here, isn't that right? That's right.
Hey,
Super
listen,
fan.
this list
You guys are the
sucks,
best fan.
but not
Yeah.
everything sucks.
Not everything sucks, but
Especially like musically with this album. Dude, I love palm muting. I love palm muted guitars so much. Like,
fuck
Dude,
yeah.
it's so great.
I love halftime grooves, like
I love-
halftime
I
grooves
love
with palm muted
muting on
guitars.
bass. It's really hard to do. Actually.
It's really fucking hard.
like
to do
people
on a
hear it, they're like,
bass.
"Oh, that's cool," but like when I try to palm mute on bass, it's like it's hard.
It's
It's
hard.
not easy.
It is. Cancer was actually one of the few songs that I gave 5 stars to.
Yeah.
I thought that was an incredible song. Really, really nice. That song was mostly Gerard's vocals and piano.
Yeah.
And it was just heart-wrenching lyrics. The hook was, "The hardest part of this is leaving you," which I was just like, fuck, man. Fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know what I mean. You know?
Yeah.
And,
I will
uh,
say, there was a few times on this album, not to like diss MCR or anything, but like I heard like Billy Corgan,
Really?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think What song?
Why would that be a diss?
I know.
No,
I
that's
like
what,
Billy
That's
Corgan.
what I'm saying. It's not a
Yeah, it's not a diss.
It's not a diss. I feel like
I didn't necessarily
like
hear
they
that,
kind of
but-
they kind of pulled from like some Smashing Pumpkins, like
I definitely heard the Queen, and I definitely heard the David Bowie. The Queen especially. A lot
this
of the
is how I disappear. One of the notes I wrote was Billy Corgan inspired vocals. I can't remember why.
The fucking groove.
Where
like
is
I
that?
said, I wrote all
The
of these
third
while
track.
I was listening to the song.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The third track, the groove that they drop into after the second fucking chorus.
Heavy fucking metal,
is
dude.
So metal, dude.
It's like
so
speed
good.
metal. It's
I
like
know.
speed metal.
There was a couple of times
But
where
it's
I
like
was
a
listening
halftime
to
groove,
this
though.
album.
Yeah.
There was definitely a few times where I was listening to this album. I was like, "Holy shit, dude! They're throwing it down."
So the first cold listen that I did with this album, I was walking, and like that song in particular, like I remember where I was at, and when they drop into that like halftime palm muted fucking metal groove, I remember I was walking, I was just like, "Fuck." I was like,
Hell
yeah.
yeah.
Like I was just kind of fucking just like
Dude,
chunking
it's
with
fucking
it.
impossible not to.
It's so good.
That shit was super dope. And so that song actually reminded me a lot of the early My Chemical Romance, even before the album that came before this. Like, first of all, you can't have a little off topic here, but you can't have a My Chemical Romance album without having vampires referenced in the lyrics, and they're
I
referenced
agree.
on a couple of the tunes.
Yeah.
But like some of the early My Chemical Romance, This Is How I Disappear sounded like a super refined version of that. So
Well-
go back and listen to some of the really, really early My Chemical Romance, and then listen to that album, and you'll see what I mean. It's that, but with refinery. It's all harmonic minor. That's what it is for those
Well-
music theory nerds that are listening along.
Have you seen any of the Umbrella Academy?
Oh yeah, Mike.
So
you?
like, oh god,
I have.
what's the dude's name?
Which one?
The weird guy.
Klaus.
Yeah.
How did I guess
So like,
that?
no, because you know what I'm talking about. Like, so like when I listen to a lot of those lyrics, like I definitely understand where Gerard Way is like drawing into Klaus.
So
Like,
that's one of two graphic novels that Gerard Way has written about entirely different subjects. This guy is incredibly talented.
do you know? Is
And
there
super
more
creative.
than one
Super
NCR
creative.
album on the top 500?
No, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure this is probably only it. I would not
It
imagine.
better be if there's no fucking Zappa albums. God damn it.
yeah.
Amen, brother.
But I don't think there's any more. But this guy's incredibly talented. This guy reminds me of, and this is a band that there's certainly none of.
Dude, Gerard is super talented.
Yeah, hold on a
I-
sec
I'm
though.
happy it's on this list.
Hold on one sec. So this is kind of reminds me of the lead singer of the band Coheed and Cambria. You guys familiar with that band at all?
Yeah.
So that guy,
He's like almost more high pitched and more obnoxious than Geddy Lee.
yeah.
that's funny because I
I
used
hate
to
to
listen to
say
Coheed
that,
and
but-
Cambria when I was a kid, and my mom was like, "This sounds like Rush. Turn this shit off."
Yeah, that's what
and
my
mom,
dad
that
said
was
too.
it's not. I don't mean that in a
My
bad way.
dad
at
was
all.
like,
Rush?
"This sounds like
My mom
Rush, but
didn't-
worse."
No, my mom likes Rush now,
Okay.
but she didn't like Geddy Lee's voice. And that's what you said, Mom. So whether
That's
you
great.
believe,
Hey,
whether you
listen,
remember or not, that's
I love
exactly
your
what you
mom.
said.
I
She
love
was
your
high.
mom, but
She was
she's
high.
more than welcome to change her mind.
No, but she didn't like Coheed and Cambria because it sounded like Rush. But anyways, the guy was similar. He's super talented writer. Writes fucking progressive rock music,
Yep.
and at the same time writes graphic novels about stories that he comes up with in his mind. And that's what Gerard Way's doing here. So they kind of remind me of each other in that way. But it just talent
agree-
is
I
oozing out
agree.
of this guy. Like
He-
definitely.
here's the deal. Like Gerard Way, like I don't love this album from My Chemical Romance. But I do love Umbrella Academy. Gerard Way is super talented. He here's the thing. Gerard Way is like he's embodied by his craft. That's what he does. And I respect him for it. For My Chemical Romance to be on this list, I can't say whether or not they belong on this position, but they do definitely belong on this list.
Yeah.
Especially for me in my childhood, like
Well, just a snapshot of your
I-
childhood.
no, but I remember growing up, like when people are starting to get their own musical taste. You know, like when I grew up, it's like your dad and mom listen to this music, and like you listen to it, but then you find out about like other bands, and that was My Chemical Romance for a lot of people my age. You know, so I don't know. Like I feel like My Chemical Romance is a big deal.
Yeah.
I so this one's really weird for me, right? Because Lee Stamper's talking about how like he tried to turn me on to this music, and I mean there's a big age gap between me and Lee Stamper. Like the
Huge
very first time that I ever met Lee
Huge.
Stamper, I played catch with this kid, right? Like
Yeah,
I
for
was
those who
married-
are not
And
aware,
you were
Lee
dad?
Stamper is currently 17 years old. Wait, hold on. That kind of messes up the onlylee.com thing.
It does mess that
Lee
up.
Stamper is 18 years
He's
old.
definitely 18 years old. I was definitely not in a mindset where I think that I could have connected with this, but at the same time, weird things happen at weird times for a reason. And you know, this podcast is coming at a time where I'm really glad that I found this music.
Yeah.
Not because it's like cathartic or not because it's necessarily special to me, but particularly from a lyrical content standpoint, you know, music is always about connection in
Yeah.
some capacity, whether it's musically or whether it's lyrically. And this album has created a connection with me that you know, had it not been the things that I'm going through right now in my own personal life, I would probably have immediately cast this album off and said, "Oh, fuck this. Like this doesn't belong here. This is nonsense." But given what I've gone through, I really, really appreciate it. And I appreciate the unbelievable creativity that it took, not just from a lyrical standpoint, because the lyrics are really important and the lyrics are really what created that connection for me. But musically, this is really good too.
The music is solid too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but at the,
it's really
at the
good.
same time, like, can you acknowledge the fact that like it brought you back to a certain point in time?
Probably not
Like-
for him because this wasn't like, you gotta
No.
understand, this wasn't like, he wasn't listening to this stuff when we were that age.
This
that
brought
was
me
you
back.
and me, but not for him. He
This
doesn't remember
actually-
this.
You know what, Mike? You were like fucking what is it like Dr. Manhattan or whatever? Like
No, I'm not
I don't
Dr.
even-
Manhattan.
I
but-
don't even how old you are.
Well, and that's the tricky thing, right? Is that like I'm 15 years older than you. I'm 44.
Mike is
so-
30 years old. Mike is 30 years old. I have no idea.
No, and so that's like that's what gets
Mike just turned 44. Can you
Yeah.
believe that, Bryce?
that's what gets weird for me is
You're
that
44, Mike?
yeah, it just turned 44.
Did you know that? So Mike has no connection to this.
Where's
whatsoever.
Ashton Kutcher? I'm being played. No, but here's the deal. I mean, you don't act like that, you know, like
no, I don't.
no, not
Because
at all.
44-year-olds are in general a bunch of assholes, but not him.
For the most part,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, hold on. I'm just kidding.
No, but I like what I do really, really appreciate now is that, you know, you and Lee and JB, like all of you guys connected to this for totally different reasons. But that's what makes music so unbelievably beautiful and powerful.
Here's the deal.
Hold on, Bryce,
At the
hold on.
end of the day, it doesn't matter what music you like. We like to have fun. We like to listen to music and we like to have a good time.
Well, and
That's it.
it's the connection.
Who
that
cares?
music-
Do you like hip hop? Cool. Do you like rock? Cool.
if
Who
if
gives a fuck? We
if-
like to have a good time. We like to listen to music. We like to party.
well, and if music can connect you in a way that you wouldn't have been connected otherwise, like that's the beauty, right? Like that's the magic is
Yeah.
that it doesn't matter if you're 44, if you're 29, if you're fucking 12. Like if there's a lyrical connection, if there's a musical
My daughter
connection,
is 6 and loves fish.
that's it.
That's awesome.
That's
So
the
anyways,
beauty.
Mike, Black Parade on the list, off the list. What do you think?
Definitely
On the list.
It's definitely on the list. I'm actually kind of. Oh, I'm actually okay with the placement. I don't know that I would necessarily want to move it up a ton. If it fell by 30 spots, I wouldn't be upset, but I'd probably keep it in the top 400.
So for me,
in my opinion, I think it should be. If it were a little bit higher, I would not be upset. Only because, like, I feel like MCR did a really good job in their genre, where a lot of people followed them.
Yeah.
So, like,
The influence.
if people that followed them, like had great success, it was because of them. So
Agreed.
I wouldn't be upset if it was just a little bit higher, because when it came to like emo rock, those guys killed it, and they did a really good job.
They were definitely heralds of the emo rock age. Personally, I'm cool where it's at. I'm with Mike. If it dropped down a little bit, I'm not upset. It could drop 40 to 50, and I'm okay with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Honestly, if it's on the list, I'm happy. But you know what? It was a good episode here. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's talk about what's coming up next week, Mike. So coming up at 360, we have Funkadelic, One Nation Under a Groove.
Oh man.
Hey, can I ask you a question about that? Have you tried to fucking find that album yet?
Yes, because it is not on Spotify.
Thank you. It's not on Apple Music.
Okay, I was
either.
wondering that too, because I was looking for it today. I was
Look
at the
on
gym and I was
YouTube.
listening. I was like, where the fuck? And I moved on. I listened to Big Star, which is, sorry to spoil that, but you go ahead and read that off, Mike.
Well, yeah, but we got to circle back around.
I think it's probably on
Fucking
YouTube, right?
Funkadelic
It's probably on
album.
YouTube.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so 359, we're going to talk about the 1974 album Big Star, entitled Radio City.
And then 358 is Sonic Youth's Goo.
Can't wait to dig into that. 357, Tom
I
Waits,
can't believe it took this long for Sonic Youth to get on the
Rain Dogs.
list.
And 356 is Dr. John Gree.
Fucking-
I don't know.
Gree.
Dr. John.
Disagree.
I got some
Gree.
Dr. John, yeah.
I fucking took 5 years of French. Okay,
you son of a bitch.
All right, guys. Bryce, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Bryce.
I just want to say thank you very much for letting me be on this podcast.
Will you come back?
Dude, I'll come back anytime you want.
Hot damn.
All right, we'll have you back.
Yeah, we're
Thanks,
gonna have you
Bryce.
back.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for everybody for listening. We appreciate it. We'll see you guys
R.I.P.
next
Doom.
week. Okay.
All caps when he spell his name.
That was perfect.
This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. It sucks.
Bye-bye. Goodbye.
Happy Friday. All caps when he spells name.
That